with telescopes. So we get in the car and go drive back down. It's about 40-minute drive down. And before this trip, because I knew I was going to have some high elevation, after weeks of research, I finally decided to get a little Tar Heel 2 ham radio antenna on the car, which will do all the HF bands. And thinking it's going to be nice and quiet, not a lot of electricity up in this neck of the woods. So I turn on the ham radio as we're going down, because you couldn't get anything. Couldn't even get the GPS to work because there's no cell service. And the first thing I hear is the freewheeler's net on 80 meters. And so we heard on the ham radio this guy saying, well, we should probably take a minute here and a moment of silence. And we're like, what's going on? For the 150 people killed? Like, what? It was so strange to get that on such an old school medium. Huh. And then not being able to turn on CNN or anything to get any, so we're pretty much reliant upon whatever you can get online, which I think actually benefited me in some ways. Not being...
Well, if it comes, since you watch CNN, yes.
Well, there is no CNN to watch for me. But yeah, benefit. And then at the same time, I really wanted to listen to watch the debate. It was on CB.
No, you didn't.
No, I did. We wound up finding a live stream of it.
Sorry.
Yeah. They ended that thing 7 minutes.
Global warming.
They ended it 7 minutes early. They were out of material.
No, it's unbelievable.
How does that happen? Very strange.
2 duds and a chick.
So, yeah, this is, and I always appreciate people saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the show. What's your take on everything?" And before we do any of that, John, I think we should start the show off as we have started to do with something very important for today's audiences.
Yes.
A trigger warning.
The following podcast contains content that, when faced with choosing between pita bread or a croissant, you'll feel that it is too soon and instead ask for a gluten-free option and use the excuse, gluten may cause anal leakage.
There you go.
Listener discretion is advised.
That was very, very kind of you.
Yeah, now everyone's prepared. There is no turning back.
Well, I don't know where you want to start, but let me just throw a few easy clips out there.
Okay.
First of all, this is a very strange event, and the theme, if there's a theme, and I think it's being overlooked by a lot of these people, they're actually not overlooking it completely, but they're overlooking it as a theme, which is that, oh my God, what is the government doing? They haven't done anything. They didn't protect us from this.
They didn't learn anything since Charlie Hebdo.
I think there was a good reason for this, because their real business that the spy agencies are in is to find ways to blackmail people so they can get what they want when it comes to budgets. They don't really do anything about this sort of thing. And let's play a couple of the critiques that came out just for starters. Let's begin with the critique from Andrea Mitchell.
Okie dokie.
Your sources all evening long. Andrea, let me start with you. Obviously, very coordinated, very sophisticated attack, and it leads to the obvious question, why wasn't something on that level picked up?
And that is the question. The French have very good intelligence and share with us all the time. We supposedly have very good intelligence, the best in the world. And the fact is that there was no warning of this. They're going back now at the Counterterrorism Center to see if they missed something. Was this on social media? Was this some sort of electronic surveillance with a threat or coded threat that they did not pick up? But the fact is they didn't see anything coming, and that is very concerning to American intelligence and to the French.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Why don't you play Here's Geraldo?
Yeah, I saw
Did you see the Geraldo and his daughter?
Oh, man. Like, this guy is such a narcissist.
He's terrible.
Of these attackers.
6 locations.
6 locations. So how, first of all, I got a text from Bernie Carrick, the former police commissioner, a dear friend of mine, who said, what a colossal failure of intelligence that something of this magnitude, this is a major, major operation involving perhaps scores of terrorists. How could it be that...
Scores, as in, like, 12s times 12s?
Well, what he says, what he means to say, always just dramatizing it, is that there had to be, and there's a French guy I have clipped of too, clips from France 24. It's assumed that there's a network, support network behind these guys, and that's where you get the scores.
That could be coordinated, and no one in the vaunted French intelligence service even picked up a whisper. No one in the CIA is picking up a whisper of this gigantic attack.
Hold on a second. Since when has France been classified as having such fantastic intelligence services?
Apparently,
I've never heard this. I've never heard this.
I haven't heard it either.
I've heard of, they have Foreign Legion fighters. Maybe he's confused.
No, they have intelligence.
I was going to wait to play this, but so I had a communication with one of our military producers, one who I've met personally, is vetted, and he's the real deal. And he said, well, did you know there were 4 GIGN officers killed? I'm like, GIGN? What is that? It's the Groupe d'Intervention de la Gendarmerie Nationale, otherwise known as the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. The GIGN, this was a group created in 1973. Now, even though they are not part of the intelligence per se, this group was created after Munich, after the Munich Olympic massacre. And they're responsible for anything terrorism. They have to go in and take care of it. And so I sent back a note to our producer. Said, "Well, yeah, but what's your point?" He said, "Well, Tom Clancy." I'm like, Tom Clancy? Oh yeah, his latest game, which is a part of the 6 series, whatever that is, from Ubisoft. The game company, which I always find so dubious. The most recent release, which came out at the beginning of this year, is the GIGN. It is these guys who are out there trying to protect
Rainbow Six.
Yeah, Rainbow Six.
Experts in close quarters battle and hostage rescue, assembled from special forces teams around the world. The counterterrorism units.
So in this game with these new guys, and of course the team has a couple of special skills, they go around saving people from terrorist attacks in Paris. You gotta hate Tom Clancy for this. He's always ahead of the game.
Well, Tom Clancy's dead.
Well, but that makes it even better.
And that game, I'm sure, has nothing to do with anything he did, unless they took it from some short story or something. I'm not sure. Some Tom Clancy fan might know.
Well, that's okay. That makes it even better.
Well, it would if you were thinking it's. Well, one of the things they went on and on about on all these coverages is, I think Andrea Mitchell touched on it, is how are they communicating where it's not being picked up? Because if you listen to all these critiques, they say, we should be able to get all we do. And by the way, you also get the impression that all anybody does is listen to the phone and watch what you're doing on social networks. So if you're not on the phone and not using social networks to communicate, which I guess all these intelligence guys nowadays, instead of actually being in the field and infiltrating, they're just sitting around on Facebook all day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Well, already the reports are coming out saying, obviously, we couldn't decode their encrypted messages. So, oh my goodness, what are we going to do?
Yeah, well, that's obviously not what happened.
Well,
I mean, all they were trying to do is always break encrypt. I mean, these guys. I remember years and years ago when I was doing a radio show on technology that during the Echelon period, where they're trying to
suck everything up,
put taps on everybody, and the FBI in particular is really into this. The idea is you're working for these agencies, you're getting paid good money. What if you can just sit at your desk all day doing whatever you feel like, or just sitting on Facebook and communicating, and then letting the phone calls collect at the various offices? And you never have to leave the office. You never go into the field. You never do anything, really.
Sounds like a dream job.
All the information comes to you. This is where it's gone. I think this is what's going on.
Well,
why do you need that huge office, the giant office for the NSA? Just so people can just be listening in on the phones? I mean, come on.
Well, why don't you go through some more of your clips? I do have a theory, not so much about who or... I have somewhere to go with this, but I see you have a couple of clips that I think we should play first.
Okay, well, let's play. One thing that's interesting to me about this, and let's play this clip, which is another critique. But this one leads into another topic that I want to discuss, which is the venues. But okay. So let's play critique plus venues.
Okie dokie.
That there was probably a bomb used to down the Russian plane in Egypt, which also means this is coordinated. This is maybe old-style terrorism, if you wish, not so much lone wolves that are very difficult to pick up. And so this is why you're already seeing some conservatives who are lashing out and say it's time for the government to tell us what they've been doing. You know, some are even calling for the resignation of the Interior Minister who's in charge of the police, because they're saying, well, this is not someone who suddenly woke up one morning and decided to shoot. Those were 7 people who had the same guns, the same detonators, and knew exactly where they were going, soft targets, not synagogues, schools, official buildings, because there's much more police and army patrols around those places since the last attacks, but places where people gather to have a drink, to listen to music, or watch football.
So a couple of things I want to say about that. He's talking about soft targets. Now, what we really should be saying, no tourists were targeted, completely the opposite of what we've seen so-called ISIS do. Very quickly, we heard a Kalashnikov meme. They went from, briefly, it was AK-47s they used, and it's all Kalashnikov, which I don't know why. Did you see any picture of any weapons used of any of these terrorists anywhere?
Mm-mm.
No. Did we see any gun discarded, anything at all? And why all of a sudden saying Kalashnikov instead of AK-47?
I didn't notice this.
Yeah, it's pretty rampant, Kalashnikov, which maybe is just an Russia thing, or I don't know.
Watching this, I got Kalashnikov first.
Okay, and then AK-47?
AK-47 later.
Well, the Kalashnikov is strange. That's just, I don't know why that got some legs all of a sudden. But there's also
there's a narrative switch going on that I was fascinated with, which is the switch. I think they gave up, whoever's writing the script, gave up on the lone wolf scenarios because it wasn't working. Nobody gave a shit. Lone wolf, well, what are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it.
See, I'm not even there. My head's in a different place. I mean, we could have predicted this would happen. This solves so many things in one fell swoop. You know, close the borders. It's the migrants' fault. We magically found a Greek passport. I love it how that always happens. You know, you can crash into a building with a plane. You know, you can blow yourself up with a suicide vest. But of course, you always have your passport with you. And of course, it always is found right next to your mangled, blowed up body intact.
The passport thing was kind of screwy, but they've got a problem. In fact, let me see if I can figure out which clip this is.
And you know, they picked one of these guys up at the Belgian border in a rental car, because that's what you do if you're going to kill yourself. You know, you rent a car and drive it back to drop off. You know, you don't want to get a late fee.
Well, that element is, I think, I'm not sure what's going on there. No, I don't think that's the key.
I have thoughts.
But let me finish the thoughts on the venues.
Okay.
This guy brought it up. The way I looked at the map of where these things took place, and it looked to me as though, assuming that this was what it was, you had 2 jokers go up to the stadium. I don't think they were even closely aware that Mitterrand Hollande was there. Because if they were, they would have they could have done a little more than they did, it seems to me. And they blow themselves up, and that attracts the police away from the part of town, which is way far from that stadium, which was a screwy place in terms of, like, why would you start shooting people in this venue, which is the where young people stay and play the clip. This is like where the millennials would go. Mm-hmm. And this clip, Venue Anomaly, kind of covers it just a little bit.
nature of these venues in the northeast of Paris. They're actually kind of trendy neighborhoods, also neighborhoods where there's quite a degree of social mixity. This is sort of the France of the future, if you like. They weren't targeting well-to-do establishment-type neighborhoods. They were targeting actually quite originally working-class neighborhoods that are now very representative of a modern France, a mixed France, if you like. So certainly I think that has shaken a lot of people and upset a lot of people who would normally, in fact, be quite maybe centre-left on a lot of social issues, who would be open to the whole idea of welcoming refugees. And so I think the way in which this is going to impact on broader perspectives and political opinions is we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Now, I thought this was kind of fascinating because it was like, if you want to turn around public opinion on certain things, in this case, the
refugees,
the welcoming, shoot all those people that think this is a good idea.
Yes. Yeah,
which is what they did. Which is exactly what they did.
Did you? I have Mike Rogers, who was pulled into CNN. I did get some clips from CNN, even though I couldn't watch it live. And he has this guy, no shame at all.
This should be a wake-up call to everyone. I think that when France closed its borders, that is an unprecedented event. And it tells you that all of the intelligence that's led up to this point saying, be careful about this refugee community. They believe they're trying to infiltrate it. That tells you that there's more information behind that closing. He didn't get up and just decide he was going to close those borders. That is probably a concern not just of France, but everybody that's dealing with a refugee population from the region.
Yeah, because European borders have been open to refugees. Hundreds of thousands of them in recent weeks and months have been allowed to come into Germany, into Austria, into France, and other countries in Europe. And you heard from a lot of law enforcement experts, especially here in the United States, that ISIS could be smuggling terrorists in to presumably commit an act of terror like this.
Sure. And there was some social media reporting that talked about the very fact that that's exactly how they got in.
Oh, okay.
And now you have to worry about what the status in Germany is and other places in Europe, as well as do they have a secondary level of attack anywhere else in the world, including the United States.
All right, be very afraid, everybody.
Okay, we have a continuity problem, folks, with the script.
Yes, it's out of order.
Now I want to mention one thing since you're going toward that direction right now in these clips. On Twitter, there's a guy who says, hey, after they announced they shut the borders, I just drove in from Belgium to France. And he goes on some detail, and I look into this guy. He's a reporter. It's not like a bogus, guy just throwing shit out there, which you get a lot on Twitter. And then they didn't close the border. I mean, they may have locked down a little bit later.
Well,
but if you say we've closed the borders and the borders aren't closed, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, having lived in the region, in the Netherlands and in Belgium, I can tell you there's not any real guard post or border that shuts. This has long since been eliminated. There's not like a big train crossing gate that comes down. No,
you're not going into East Berlin in the 1960s.
And they didn't close the airport. I kept very close attention to the airport. Flights kept coming in and going out. So this a lot of talk here.
Now, the problem with the script problem that I'm seeing in terms of...
I like that you're saying script because I do have thoughts about it. Do you want to venture as to where the script is coming from?
I don't know. I have no idea. You might have some ideas, but let's talk a little bit about the script.
Okay.
One of the elements that they're doing... Now, I'm not claiming that this event didn't happen. I don't know what you're going to do. But this event happened. I don't know necessarily who was behind it.
I am not on the... crisis actor bogus tip. No, so
yes,
this is
too
real.
much work in France.
Come on.
We don't have enough actors in France.
Gerard Depardieu lives in Russia. He wasn't available.
Yeah. So there was a massacre, which is the only way to call it. And it was a massacre in a weird part of town that had, although there's some crazy. Let me move right to the craziest of the thoughts.
Let me guess. Is it date related and numerology related?
Yes.
Yeah. The 11th, Friday the 13th. Wow, you're better than I am at that.
No.
Okay.
But this person is.
All right.
This is the Friday the 13th. This is a KT somebody or other. She is a ex-CIA. She's obviously works with something. So she throws in, I think this was the gem of all these crazy ideas. This is the Friday the 13th nonsense.
Increased attacks in Europe and potentially in the United States, it's going to look completely ineffective. You know, what was the Obama foreign policy? Well, they got rid of al-Qaeda, right? Al-Qaeda was on the ropes. Then we had Benghazi. ISIS is the JV. Oops, ISIS now takes over a whole landmass the size of Great Britain and declares a caliphate. Oh, well, we've got it contained. That's what President Obama said even yesterday, 24 hours ago. And then as he was saying that, ISIS was planning these mass casualty attacks. And I think it's worth noting, ISIS doesn't do things by accident. Why was it Friday the 13th? Well, Friday the 13th in history, in 1307...
Wait, the Knights Templar?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th was when the Christian Knights Templar, the Crusader Christians, were massacred all throughout Europe. So that date, I think, was carefully chosen by ISIS. And secondly, the attacks in Paris were against French, German, and Americans. It was an American rock concert. It was a French-German soccer match. ISIS has laid down their marker, and they've said, we are at war with Western civilization, and we are killing Christians. So I think that's where they go forward. And as they've shown, they continue to up the ante. Regardless of what the president says, ISIS is on the move, and they seem to have now entered a whole new era with these mass casualty attacks.
What was this woman's name again?
KT something. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and dig it up.
Well,
I've seen her a couple times. She comes out rarely, and they have all these, all these different women that are all,
And what channel was that on?
This was, I believe, was on. It was either on Fox or CNN.
Okay, all right.
I'm not.
Well, you're picking up on
doing my job. But let me mention one thing: the Knights Templar were, they were sought after and killed by the Catholic Church. I don't know. It's got nothing to do with the Muslims.
Yeah, this is. I even saw a post that the Economist, they had a cover a couple weeks back, and the headline is, "Did the Economist cover predict the attack, because somewhere there's the number 1113, hidden in the picture."
No, I missed that one.
I mean, these, 5-6 years ago, Adam would be all over that. No, there's something else going on here. But just to hook into what that woman said, Laura Haim, who is the France 24 reporter, who I think is a pretty good reporter, she kept coming on MSNBC, and she had this little ditty, which, for her to pick this up is kind of along the same lines as that woman.
Something I just want to also tell you, and it seems to have been a really, really sophisticated attack, well prepared. And there's something which is striking me. At first, and unfortunately I have to say that as a fact, it was an American band which was playing inside the Bataclan, this musical. Sometimes, and most of the times, it's French people, but tonight it was an American band which was playing. Maybe it's a symbol also of something. And then the second element is that this musical is really close to Charlie Hebdo. It's 300 meters away from Charlie Hebdo, and that also might be a symbol, because when you know how the terrorists plan their attacks, each detail is counting. So I think we have to keep in mind that it was a very sophisticated attack, well prepared, with a lot of symbols that we're learning minute after minute this evening.
Yeah, symbols like it was an American band, clearly.
Well, first of all, before I say anything about this overblown, sophisticated attack, again, I'm reminding people that the sophisticated attack, even though it may have been just to divert the police, the sophisticated attack at the soccer stadium would have really caused some. If you'd have gone into the soccer stadium,
blown it up
shot your way in,
inside,
and started shooting international soccer stars on the field, and then seeing Hollande and then racing toward him and just blowing yourself up, that would have been at least showed some signs of sophistication.
Okay.
This was, just a drive-by shooting from what I could tell, except for the guys who got inside the band venue. Now, play Friday the 13th pre-clip on Why the Theater.
Meanwhile, the Times of Israel is reporting that the Bataclan Theater may not have been picked at random. It was Jewish-owned for decades and have been targeted by anti-Zionist groups for years because of the pro-Israel shows that were put on here. And the band that was on stage at the time of the attack, the Eagles of Death Metal, had performed in Tel Aviv in July, which could explain why the terrorists picked this particular location last night.
Yeah, except that the venue was sold to someone else 2 months ago, according to reports. I see it everywhere, but no one can tell me who it was sold to, which would be of interest.
It would be, but then again, maybe these guys didn't know that either. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm not thinking this is much of a sophisticated attack. Well, it was effective.
I gotta jump in. Okay. So who did this we're never going to find out. We just won't.
And may I remind people of the letter that was in the newsletter? I think one or two newsletters ago from the guy who's ex-GCHQ, who says that as far as he can tell, they don't mind the government blow up their own people just to make a point. Not a problem.
Okay, so we have to look at this in a larger context. There's been a number of terrorist attacks and activity in France over the past several years. Of course, obviously, Charlie Hebdo, which you'd think after that, everyone would be so ready to go, and how could anything happen? This is what a lot of the complaint is, of course. Now, these types of events happened several decades ago, and they happened in Italy, and this was a NATO force. So this is, and what I'm saying is fact. You can look it all up, called Gladio, Operation Gladio, and it was Leave Behind Force. And the entire point was this was a NATO-based force who had caches of weapons everywhere. In fact, the cache of their weapons these were Kalashnikovs, were found in the Netherlands back in the 90s. And Ruud Lubbers, then prime minister, had to admit that there is a force that is spread out throughout the world, but particularly Europe, a NATO-based force who were supposed to be there in case of some calamity inside Europe, inside one of these countries. But it was primarily used to create the strategy of tension, and they used that in Italy. Now, the Gladio operation on the U.S. side has always been run by CIA. The only reason I'm bringing this up as a possible, as the actors who did this, is what I saw, and again, I wasn't watching live television, but I saw at least 5, and I have clips here, 5 different ex-CIA people come on to CNN immediately, who rarely are on. And we know that once you're in CIA, and then you become a pundit after you retire, and I'll show you some of the groups that some of these people work for, you're not really out of the CIA. And for CNN to be talking to these people, they're offered up. It's how it works. Operation Pundit offers them up. Hey, you should talk to these guys. They know all about it.
Right. That's why KT, this woman that I had the clip from, I've only seen her on way rare. I mean, maybe 3-4 years ago.
So let's take Claire Lopez.
She's not the regulars, one of the regulars.
Right. So we have Claire Lopez, who was on a lot on CNN, and I'll just tell you up front, she is ex-CIA, and she currently works for Frank Gaffney. And Frank Gaffney is, this is the guy who has been yelling for years. He has a pretty big network. I think he makes some reasonable money. The caliphate, it's the jihadis are coming in. They're all going to kill us. We're all going to die. And very, very propagandistic. It's a Jewish and or Israeli funded think tank. And she comes on to propagate her formula.
These attacks were highly coordinated, complex, multiple simultaneous attacks. They speak to a high level of coordination and sophistication.
Now remember, she's saying this is ex-CIA.
By the way, the meme word, sophistication.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This is your script, John. Totally agree.
In the planning. There are elements within each of our societies. I mean, we know, too, in America what it's like to be attacked in the homeland. And some of these forces, we are talking here about the forces of Islamic Jihad. There's no question about that. They live among us. And also...
Just so you know, there's no question about it, John. Just so you know, no question. They live among us.
Able to cross over borders that are not always as secure as we would hope to make them. And so these forces are both in among us already, living among us, and also perhaps coming in over the border. It's a very complex, difficult problem for security forces.
I don't think so.
I think we're going to have to step up our game, all of us, in Western civilization.
Yeah.
And that is, first of all, to understand what we're up against and to declare it and acknowledge it and confront it openly. We are fighting the forces of Islamic Jihad in order to live free of Islamic law.
Yeah, that's not a propagandistic line.
And we have to say that, and we have to devise.
And we have to say it.
There's the Operation Pundit or whatever it is. Do they think that she's better than some of the regulars that keep coming up?
Well, give you a couple.
You know what? I just figured it out. What you have to do is you have to have these people that are that's just all memes. There's no discussion. These other people
exactly. There's no actual content. Yeah, no content. It's just memes. They're just throwing memes out there the whole time. But there's more. Let's listen to the rest.
Islamic law, and we have to say that, and we have to devise policy and then implement it in order to go after not just the terrorists themselves, but the ideology that inspires them to do these kinds of acts.
Okay, so she's probably the most obvious shill working with Frank Gaffney. Then we have a guy who I don't think I'd ever seen, Buck Sexton.
Oh yeah. Oh, Buck Sexton. Of course, he's on the Blaze all the time.
Okay, but he pops up, and he's also ex-CIA.
It tells you that they were trying to target every aspect of French society. I mean, this is really
I don't think he's on CNN ever. I've never seen him on CNN.
He's on the Blaze.
Okay, but now he's on CNN. This is my point.
I would expect to see him on Fox.
Yeah, but
he's on the Blaze. They brag about it being CIA.
Yeah, well, everyone here has been introduced as former CIA.
It tells you that they were trying to target every aspect of French society. I mean, this is really an assault on Western civilization itself. They're trying to get people in restaurants. No, it doesn't tell you who's responsible. You can't tell based on the very basic tactics of them going in. The choice of the targets, though, shows you that they're trying to send a very clear message, whether it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda. I don't think that there's, honestly, at this point, all that much that we have to worry about in terms of the distinction. You have to take the same security precautions either way. The sort of things that we're worried about, follow-on attacks, whether it is ISIS or Al-Qaeda, that's something that we'll figure out.
Did he get a script?
Yes.
In the days ahead.
He was not doing it right.
No, it's completely ad-lib. Oh, yeah, but he's also
terrible. They got to get him off.
That's something that we'll figure out in the days ahead. But as for what's going on right now, they're trying to send a message. The message is that anybody. Terror, right? This is the essence of terror. That if you were at
the essence of terror. You know what the essence of terror is? The essence of terror is U2 canceling their Paris shows. That's the essence of terror, you pussies. Like Motorhead canceling their shows.
I guess who canceled it? Had to cancel right away after the event. You know about U2?
That's what I just said. I just said U2.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I thought you said.
Yeah. No, I thought
you said somebody else.
No, U2. They canceled their Paris shows. Big pussies.
U2. I thought you said YouTube, and I was wondering what you were talking about.
No, U2 and Motorhead.
Stadium, if you were at a concert anywhere in Paris, in France, in all of the West, in any enemy territory, any part of the land of war, according to the Islamic State, you are a target and you are subject to this kind of vicious and sadistic annihilation. And that's what they're able to do tonight. I have to say, Don,
Islamic rock concert.
I'm sorry?
You're subject to annihilation for going to a rock concert. And I already did the venue thing. The venue thing was hipsters.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
But just listen to Buck.
This was a hipster neighborhood.
Yes.
French hipsters.
Yes.
He specifically said that they targeted some sort of general population to scare the crap out of everybody. He missed the whole point.
He's getting half of it.
And sadistic annihilation, and that's what they're able to do tonight. I have to say, Don, well, as long as you have the Islamic State operating as it does, as a terrorist state, which is what it is, you have this risk, and this was really inevitable. I know people don't think of it that way now, but it was only a matter of time before we went from a lone wolf who's a crazy person with a hatchet or with perhaps a gun, and instead we have this, a sophisticated, multi-pronged attack with surveillance on sites, with people who knew what they were doing to create maximum carnage.
Sophisticated. Then the next, and this is all in the case of, oh man, it was just maybe an hour. Now Philip Mudd on CNN. Ex-CIA.
You got to think about a couple things in this case. Think of a concentric circle with 3 rings. Ring 1 is, and I haven't heard the answer to this.
It's great.
Have they picked up a cell phone, for example, from any of these individuals? Because I want to know if there's communications, let's say, over the past 24 to 48 hours that suggest there's other conspirators out there. Ring number 2, documents, explosives, weapons, travel, communication. Is there a support network? And I believe there's got to be, of people out there who are trying to escape now. One reason the president of France has closed the borders, trying to escape now, who might go and organize another attack. Ring 3 and final, and that is, are there people out there who are aware of this and didn't say anything in advance of it? So right now, there's a ton of people like me in my whole life trying to pick up information about the identities of these individuals to map out that spider network of who supported this and whether there are co-conspirators on the loose, Don.
So when you have at least 3 former CIA pundits coming on.
By the way,
Yes.
I just wanted to interrupt, but at the very beginning of this whole thing on CNN, Bob Baer.
Oh, of course.
Bob Baer.
Yeah, Bob Baer. I didn't see any of him because, again, I wasn't.
It was the same. It was the same. But you could have played any of these things, attach a name to any of them. They're all the same.
Yeah. But the idea remains the same. And so let's just look at simply what this does. I mean, this is beautiful. First of all, actually, why even say first of all? Why don't we just listen to the president tell us himself?
First of all,
why don't we listen to the president himself tell us what this is all about and what's going to happen? Because the seamlessness which we go from this tragedy to Assad has to go is mind-boggling.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I just want to make a few brief comments.
And we need to dissect what he's saying here. And this man is nuts.
About the attacks across Paris tonight. Once again, we've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. This is an attack not just on Paris. It's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share.
Okay, so we stopped there. Already Rand Paul has put a bill in to declare war on the Islamic State. He feels that it should be a congressional declaration, which is how it's supposed to work. And of course, when you have something called Islamic State, it's a state, and therefore it's kind of a country, an entity. They attacked a NATO member. The president didn't quite say it that way, but
that was an early speech. Very shortly thereafter, they started bringing in the NATO meme,
which is Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all of us. So this is now going to be used to completely blow up, rubbleize the entire Levant part, except for Israel. That would be in the Levant. So let's say the ISIS, ISIL-IS. All over the map, everybody's using different names once again.
The reason they may be using dash is to keep Israel out of it.
Absolutely. And so this,
and in fact, just play a short clip right in the middle of Obama. Play Hollande and see what he says.
Hollande, Hollande. He was pissed.
C'est un acte de guerre qui a été commis.
An act of war.
It is an act of war which was committed by a terrorist army, Daesh, an army of jihadists.
Exactly.
Daesh.
So let's continue with the president. So he's already put out there that this will be used in the UN Security Council as an act of war. I'm sorry, a NATO as Article 5 to be implemented, that we can go after this virtual Islamic State.
We stand prepared and ready to provide whatever assistance that the government and the people of France need to respond.
Well, of course, we're doing that. We are all changing our Facebook and Twitter icons. I'm very proud of America.
To the tricolor.
Good job. Wow. Very, very good. Glad you all changed. You know what? ISIS is shaking in their boots.
France is our oldest ally.
You know, when he brought that out, I remember that medley we had of it. He says to everybody, he says our closest ally, our oldest ally, our most loved ally. But then
the French people have stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States time and again.
Freedom fries, anybody?
Yeah, I was thinking, as soon as he said that, that's the first thing that came to mind.
Freedom fries? Come on. But okay.
Oh, those French, they're terrible people. Freedom fries. We're calling it freedom fries.
Now, before we continue, I do want to say that what happened, forget the amount of people, whether it's relatively a lot or not. I mean, there's been 150 people killed in April in somewhere in Africa that we don't care about. No one changed their Twitter icon for that. So
or even for that matter, over 200 people killed in the Russian plane.
Yeah, of course. Why would we change it to a Russian flag? That would be crazy.
Although the red, white, and blue is Russian too. I mean, you just flip it.
You got to flip it. But the effect of this, and this is really what I was able to garner. This is a 9/11 type of shock. Okay, I said okay. The first thing I thought was, oh man, the shit's kicking off. My kids in Amsterdam. This can happen anywhere now. And this strategy of tension will continue. Right now, we don't really need to bring the Netherlands in because what are they going to do? They have a very small force. It's not important to get them in. But France, who, they fly their Mirages, and they're bombing, and they're a big part of it, and they're a big oil partner. But the shock of this will really, it's being felt, and that's why, John, you don't have the Facebooks, but man, the moral self-licensing and we stand with you. People are, the mind control, it was like a switch was flipped. Boom, everybody's all in. I don't care what it takes. We got to kill these people. I see people posting, I'm putting my uniform on. I'm ready. I'm going back and kill him. And those are Dutch people.
We want to be very clear that we stand together with them in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Paris itself represents the timeless values of human progress. Those who think that they can terrorize the people of France or the values that they stand for are wrong. The American people draw strength from the French people's commitment to life, liberty.
I liked, because I don't know if he was ad-libbing here, but...
Oh, no, he dropped the ball on that. I'm absolutely sure of it. He said life, liberty, and then because he wasn't looking at fraternity.
Right, and he said the pursuit of happiness.
Which is our thing.
Yeah.
Pursuit of happiness.
Dude, that's our slogan. Don't be giving that to the French.
Mixed up.
And then he comes out with, and then he's looking down his papers like, oh yeah, I mean...
We're reminded in this time of tragedy,
come on,
that the bonds of liberté, égalité, and fraternité are not only values that the French people care so deeply about, but they are values
way out of that.
Yeah, it's impossible.
That we share.
Yeah.
And those values are going to endure far beyond any act of terrorism or the hateful vision of those who perpetrated the crimes this evening.
Okay. Now, this was, in general, it was quite an embarrassment for the president, since he had just been on that morning.
Yeah, bad timing.
On Good Morning America with George Stephanopoulos.
I don't think they're gaining strength. What is true is that from the start, our goal has been first to contain, and we have contained them. They have not gained ground in Iraq, and in Syria, they'll come in, they'll leave, but you don't see the systematic march by ISIL across the terrain. What we have not yet been...
Notice ISIL now, not Daesh, not ISIS, not IS, it's ISIL.
...is to completely decapitate their command and control structures.
To use a term.
We've made some progress in trying to reduce the flow of foreign fighters, and part of our goal has to be to recruit more effective Sunni partners.
All right. So he said, hey, they're contained, everything's all good. So, of course, very embarrassing when this happens, which means he certainly wasn't in on the loop. Prime Minister Cameron was not in on the loop. He was really taken off guard, although he came out and said, we're at severe code alert. Something's going to happen, guaranteed. I thought I had a clip. Maybe it's misfiled. I'll find it for you. So the president had come back now and restate a little bit.
Killing of innocent people based on a twisted ideology is an attack not just on France, not just on Turkey, but it's an attack on...
Yeah, he's sitting there...
Throw Turkey in there just right out of the
Because he's in Turkey. Everyone's in Turkey for the G20.
Oh, he's in Turkey.
He was sitting there with Erdogan talking about this, and...
the civilized world. And as we, I'm sure, each said to President Hollande and the French people, we stand in solidarity with them in hunting down the perpetrators of this crime and bringing them to justice. Turkey's been a strong partner with the United States and other members of the coalition in going after the activities of ISIL or Daesh, both in Syria and Iraq. So the discussion we had today, I think, was very helpful in helping.
Notice the name change. Make no mistake. These people are smart. Every term they use has a legal meaning. So the difference between saying Daesh or ISIS or ISIL has meaning. The press has let us down so severely on this. So severely.
They're afraid.
And so how do we know
it's... afraid of the terrorists.
Right. So how do we know it's ISIS? Well, I tracked it back. The first person to say this was Congressman Schiff from California, who happens to be the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. And he said these attacks should dispel any illusions about the nature of the Islamic State. It will add another sense of urgency to defeating it, he said, and that will be very hard to do without eliminating its sanctuary.
To continue to coordinate the work that we're doing together to help to fortify the borders between Syria and Turkey that allowed
no fly zone, anybody?
Daesh to operate.
Now it's Daesh. Hold on a second. He just said ISIL, and now he's saying Daesh.
Well, no, when he first said, here's a transition. If you backed it up,
let's do that.
Let's do that. ISIL or Daesh.
Oh, let's listen to that. Let's see. Where was
going after the activities of ISIL or Daesh?
Okay, good point.
Both in Syria and
you're right. The transition here. You're right.
So the discussion we had today, I think, was very helpful in helping to continue to coordinate the work that we're doing together to help to fortify the borders between Syria and Turkey that allowed Daesh to operate. We discussed the progress that's been made in diplomatic talks in Vienna, led by our foreign ministers.
And the Vienna talks is about the Assad transition.
And an insistence that we will redouble our efforts working with other members of the coalition to bring about a peaceful transition in Syria and to eliminate Daesh as a force that can create so much pain and suffering for people in Paris and Ankara and other parts of the globe.
Okay, so let's review the benefits of this taking place.
By the way, I like the way they very slow, besides transitioning from ISIL to Daesh, I like the way they transitioned that would happen in Ankara, which
yes.
initially was considered by the people that were involved with the protests a government action.
Yes. By Erdogan.
Anti-Kurd action. It had nothing to do with Daesh.
No, but this is, do you remember? We said, with these migrants, you can blame anything in the world on the migrants and thus ISIS. It's all going to happen. And here it is. So, what happens? Kerry was out there, and I recorded the whole thing. It's in the show notes, so you can listen to it. But Kerry is so tedious and so boring, and he did 10 minutes in French with a boner. You know, he's sitting there like, oh, I'm so cool. I can speak French to the French people. And then he transitioned immediately into Daesh. Oh, it's all these guys, and they're coming in with the immigrants. We have no way to track them. So, if we now collectively under NATO decide we have to attack their sanctuary, which it really is all we want to do is get rid of Assad. This is going to make it work. And Putin cannot come out now. Putin cannot say, hey, you can't do that. He will be viewed as the biggest a-hole in the universe.
Yes, he knows this.
Of course he does. And Lavrov.
He said, I'm sorry this happened. He said, like, condolences, and then he just backed up and sat down and probably had vodka, thinking, damn it, these assholes.
Yeah. Oh, no, they nailed him. And if you look at Lavrov, the foreign minister, sitting next to Kerry, I mean, the guy has like a storm cloud over his head. His eyebrows are down to his nose. I mean, the guy is so angry about what's happened. So, that will help the transition. That is what and of course, Kerry even at one point says, I've been given license to do this by the president. So we're going to rubblize. That'll happen, I think, pretty quickly. It's going to be we're going to flatten this stuff. Flatten is going to be dead. Now, the borders get closed. We get to send these crazy, they might all be ISIS. We get to send them all back. And we get to continue with this fear-mongering where you never know. Going to a rock concert, kids, be very afraid. It could happen here in the homeland. This is the strategy of tension that is being rolled out. It solves everything that they were dealing with, primarily the migration crisis. These borders, Europe is going to be shut. It's going to be shut. And now we're going to see stuff kick off.
That's been a goal.
Now, you want to hear the Pope?
I have a couple.
I have the Pope.
Shutting the borders has been a goal.
I have the Pope.
Oh, you have the Pope.
The Pope, and I'm going to translate it.
Does he do what Bernie Sanders does? He blames it on global warming?
No, we'll get to that. No, here it is. This is an interviewer.
Ha parlato tante volte di una terza guerra mondiale.
Le ha parlato tante volte di una terza guerra mondiale a pezzi. That's my Italian, and it translates to, you've often talked about a third world war, piece by piece.
A pezzi.
And he says, sí, questo è un peso. Yes, this is a piece. So the Pope is admitting this is a piece of the new world war, the Third World War, which would be fought piece by piece.
Yeah.
Nice to see the Pope on board with a no agenda thinking.
Yes, this is our thesis.
I found religion. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So, and I think the Gladio, although I've always been very skeptical of that.
I'm totally against the Gladio thing. First of all, first I've heard of it was with your buddy James Corbett, who's always staring into the camera, and he had some lunatic woman on.
No, that's with the Boiling Frogs.
The Boiling
lady.
Frogs chick.
Yeah. But I didn't get this from him.
Incoherent.
Yeah, but I didn't get this from them. This, if you look at Gladio, is real.
But they got me to looking into this, and I don't think this has been in place since the 90s. I just don't see it. And if you take it out of the equation, it doesn't change anything of your thesis.
It does. Well, I think my point is it doesn't matter. I was very clear. It doesn't matter who did it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's going to be done with it. This is the official. This will mark the real start. Just like 9/11, this will mark the real start of World War III.
Well, they didn't. Apparently, Charlie Hebdo did not trigger it, so they had to do it again. And this is not typical of Arab strategies. They usually take a lot longer in between. It's like hit and run, then you wait forever, and then nothing's going to happen, then they hit you again. I want to play a couple of clips here because I don't know what these are about, but I think they're about something about what you're talking about.
Okay.
Play Bombers, ISIS or not.
Accomplices there. We'll know more perhaps in the minutes to come. What we do know for now, though, is that the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for this attack. It has not, though, given the identities of those who carried out the attacks. A little earlier we spoke to Wasim Nasr, who follows jihadist activity online for us. Here's what he told us.
When we see their communique, they're always very accurate on the facts. They stick to the facts. That's what they did when they claimed the bombing in Beirut 48 hours ago, and what they did now. And
hold on a second. All of these admissions that ISIS did it, you know where that's coming from, right? From one source.
From Rita.
Yeah, that's Rita Katz. ISIS is...
well, that's the point. He's got a little note in here where, as he talks about this, that kind of makes you go,
all right, let's listen.
What is particular about these two claims is they didn't give names, nor nicknames, like core names. They didn't give the names. So they are keeping us in in kind of flu, because we don't know who are those attackers. If they're all French, if there's foreigners among them, if they're foreign Europeans among them, but because it's also possible. People heard them speak French, but it's not only in France that people speak French.
Now, yes, the admission came through that operation that had the headless...
the Site Intelligence Group.
Site Intelligence Group, which is screwy. And did you know Richard Clark was part of that operation?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
Well, the New York Times reports this as fact. So the New York Times, they say it was ISIS, and it's provided by a transcript from the Site Intelligence Group.
According to this guy, if you listen to him long enough, he's very tedious. They usually give details to prove that they're right. So there's not a bullcrap thing. I'm telling you, we did it, and here's the guys who did it. They didn't do that.
No.
So that's a red flag. Now play this part, which I think is kind of interesting. Is this Bombers ISIS or not? And I put down new mechanism. This guy mentions.
Hold on a second. New mechanism.
Which really, when you listen to this clip, if you think about it, it is a little suspect, this particular comment that he makes.
That we also know. So all this, I guess that during the investigation we'll get to know more about these attackers, knowing that it's the first time that this group claims an operation in France and in Europe. And it shows that it's a real organized operation, because to have 8 people operating this way and succeeding in their terror attack, we know that there's logistics behind them. They have places where to stay. They had the money. They had arms. And they worked on it. Otherwise, the Islamic State wouldn't have organized it this way, because it's really the first time. Because what Koulibaly did, remember, last January, alongside with of the Qashi brothers who were operating for Al-Qaeda at the time, the Islamic State didn't claim what he did in the Jewish supermarket. They praised it, as they always do, as they would have done with any terror attack. But this is the first time they are claiming something here in Europe. We are going one step beyond in this war between the Islamic State and European countries, and this is really to be taken into consideration, knowing that it's also the first time that we see explosive belts and suicide bombers here in Europe. This is really, really new.
So he's implying that, it's like a jump. This is like they jumped the.
Well, here's the New York Times headline: strategy shift for ISIS, inflicting terror in distant lands. So everyone is on board saying the same thing, that these guys who are driving Toyotas in the desert, wearing Nike shoes and squeaky clean uniforms and producing high-end videos with no actual footage of death, that they now have jumped over and are doing all this, and it's pretty much over. We're all going to die.
Now, on top of that, they're still working on the script. And now I'm going to say what I think that this is all about, if I wanted to go kind of off the deep end speculating. I think that what we've had accomplished over the last, 5-6 years is the FBI has shown that they can find some dummy who will let him blow himself up or push a button and blow up a building or do all these things. And it's like they're easy to find. They're all over the place.
Well, push a button, not actually a button that will do anything.
They haven't blown themselves up yet. But, you deal with the real hot shots. If you can infiltrate and become the kind of agent provocateur, the guy inside we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you would have the ability to create a network that would be unfindable, because top intelligence guys you can find ways around all this surveillance. I mean, because they're the ones doing the surveillance. So, because I think these guys were not surveilled because there's somebody who knew what they were doing at the top of the whatever organization this is. And I think there were sincere suicide nutcases who they got them together. They built this beautiful plan, but instead of like the FBI has done and pulled the trigger on it at the end and arrested them all, they let it go on.
Let it go. Yeah.
And of course, nobody's ever going to find out who this was. What it could be anybody. It could be anybody. It could be
again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
it doesn't matter.
I will say
the job.
I said one additional thing about the CIA. Brennan and his intelligent counterparts from Israel and France and the UK had a meeting in Paris a week ago.
Nice.
On the 13th. Guess what was underway? Why did we get everything there so quickly? Because a drill was being held in Paris. Not in the 11th arrondissement.
Saw military floating around.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah, I know.
But I do have the reports here that they were there was a drill being performed on the same day.
Here, you always find those.
Here it is. I'm going to read it to you. 1 second. I'll open up the article here. We have the French EMT, which, what are they called? SAMU, the Paris SAMU, and Patrick Pelou says that there was a multi-site emergency response drill planned for the morning. And they were lucky that was planned because it made the actual event go much smoother because they had so many resources already available and good to go. But whenever this happens, or let's just say it's annoying that these things always seem to take place with an actual event. Think of 7/7 bombing. Think of 9/11.
All right, so let me play one more, because one of the main things I kind of like about this, not that I like any of it, is the script that they have to deal with, because there's memes out there they got to promote, and then there's other memes. They're like right now let
me stop you there. Let me ask you, outline the script. Let's just outline.
Well, that's what the script until this event was that we're all under threat from lone wolves.
Yeah.
And the other one, we were all under threat from terrorists from the various European countries that go to Syria
and come back.
Yeah. And they're still Europeans, and then they've got their European passport, and they can go and and come to the United States and create havoc here because they're free to do whatever they want because they got European passports. Then you have, so the script is now completely, the lone wolf thing has to go because it hasn't been effective. Then they had this, they're trying to promote the idea, well, now these refugees are all pouring in, and a lot of them are from the country somehow, but they don't have passports anymore because they used to burn them. And there's just, it's like a mess. The script is all screwed up. And so they have to bring these guys on. They write books and they come on these shows.
The CIA.
And they volunteer information that they're not even asked to try to straighten out the script and play CNN worst analyst ever to hear somebody trying to correct the script.
Investigation into whether there are more attackers on the loose. In any event, we're waiting.
This is Christiane Amanpour?
Yeah.
Who's she with, do you know?
No.
For that. And in the meantime, we're joined in the U.S. by Michael Weiss, author of a book on ISIS, and by General Hertling, CNN's military analyst.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Michael, this is what you got to do. Michael Weiss, and he's a journalist, right?
Well, he's a writer. Let's look at his wiki. They have his like a handler on the show just in case he screws up.
The military guy. That's great.
Former commander in the field. Can we just pick up the conversation, Michael Weiss, with you regarding ISIS? And you had mentioned that you spoke to an ISIS defector who said that he had received French jihadis who had come to fight the cause and who had then been sent back here. And we're hearing, obviously, the worst nightmares of intelligence officials all over Europe is that this is the new face of war. These people who now come back with their own passports and don't have to be, natives of Syria, Egypt, Saudi, wherever you want, and lie, steal, beg, and borrow a visa to get here. How has this is obviously made it so much easier to commit these crimes?
Right, and there's two sort of tracks to this, Christiane. You've all seen the videos of the foreign fighters coming into Raqqa and burning their passports of origin on camera.
Yeah, which maybe you want to just hand out your theory there for a second about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he explains it.
Oh, he explains it? No, the explanation you had a while back ago is no terrorist in their right mind would ever burn a perfectly good passport which can be used for re-entry.
Yes, that's what my theory was because it's it's the right thing to say.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, how do you explain this away then?
No, but I'm agreeing with your theory.
No, I know you agree. Yeah. I'm saying, how does he explain it away?
Oh, I don't know. Does he do it?
Yep.
I asked the defector, I said, is this the norm? He said, no, that's just theater. When you come and you join ISIS, you deposit your passport to the ISIS HQ in Raqqa, and they keep it. Yeah. So in other words, it's not quite true that you are repudiating entirely your origins or nation of origin, because you're keeping that identity form in case they want to send you back as a sleeper. He said that Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, who is officially the spokesman of ISIS, but in reality runs all of Syria, that is his fief. He's the guy who appoints the emirs and the walis, or the governors for all the wilayats in Syria. Adnani has said, look, we have this foreign expeditionary arm. As the caliphate in Syria and Iraq begins to shrink, or as the borders become more regulated, and as the mujahideen can't cross, we want people to first stay where they are in the West and become sleeper cells, pledge allegiance to the caliph, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, form their own networks, and commit attacks where they are. But if that doesn't work, we will send operatives from Syria and from Iraq into the West, and they can ringlead and they can coordinate this. So this is a very, very, as I said before, a sophisticated project. And it has multiple arms.
Woo! All right, sophisticated is the word.
Now now I think they've dug a bigger hole. For one thing, now you can't say that you can't blame anything on the immigrants, because you got these guys and plus the sleepers who aren't coming to Syria, which is kind of missing the point, because the idea is there is somebody put this down as a cultural revolution among certain Muslims who actually want to fight. And so they want to go there. They don't want to sit around as sleepers and then do some sneak attack. That's just not what this counterculture movement is, according to the sociologists who are looking at this. So that's just nonsense. But they got to deal with that. That's another issue. And then the second one was everyone comes in to fight, and then they turn their passports over to some central office someplace. They got to go all the way
HR.
back.
But you got to HR. You got to.
They drop these all. It's just like it's just not a Russian hotel.
You got to sign your 401k paperwork. paperwork when you join up.
It's like, what? And who's going to keep track? They're saying like 20,000 foreign fighters. Who's going to keep track of 20,000? Okay, your name's what? Muhammad Abdul. Okay, Muhammad Abdul from here? No, that's not mine. How about this one? No. This one? No. Well, you'd be there for days trying to find your passport. This is bull crap.
But they're using constant contact to coordinate. They send out their newsletters and stuff. So I think that they know what's going on.
So the script is a mess.
Well, how about this for a thought? So we know this wasn't the Brits. We know it wasn't the U.S., at least not the White House U.S. I'm pretty sure CIA was involved. Or for whatever reason, they seem to be...
CIA came out of the woodwork with experts to talk about it.
Okay. However... we're just taking advantage of this to flatten Syria and get Assad out. That's how we've taken it, and to terrorize the United States citizens, and to really get a kumbaya going, so that we can, as a huge NATO force, can go and kick everybody's ass wherever we want to. We're going to have, we are going to declare a war on the Islamic State.
If Rand Paul's in on this, he is dumber than I thought.
He's dumb. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And Brian Williams, just because this guy is back on MSNBC, he does all the breaking news. Maybe this whole thing is just to put his career back on track. I don't know. He certainly could use some help. Listen to this douche.
Our table outside, and we.
Oh wait, this isn't Brian Williams. Let's see. This is MSNBC. Let me see.
Walked around the corner and looked down the street where the shooting had happened, and didn't go too close. But we were totally unaware that it was a shooting with multiple fatalities. We had heard that it was only one person who had been killed, so we really didn't understand the gravity of the situation when we went back out to eat back outside.
So you didn't actually witness the stories of.
No, why is she on?
What? This woman?
I'm saying, why is she on? She didn't witness anything. They're interviewing her.
Oh, well, wait.
Bodies outside of this restaurant and the carnage.
Because she's there to provide color. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I'll try it again.
You didn't actually witness the stories of bodies outside of this restaurant and the carnage apparent. You were too far away to actually visually see that. Were you allowed to go closer, Margot, afterwards? Did you even dare do that?
Ooh, did you go look at the bodies, the blood?
I mean, if somebody was shooting a gun at you, would you go and run closer if you didn't know that they were farther away? I mean, we had no idea where the gunman was, whether they were still on the loose. We didn't hear any cars screeching and driving away, so we really had no idea if we were safe. In fact, we didn't know that everybody had been caught until well after 12:30.
Everybody be caught?
Well, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
No, she's just there for color, just to provide some. She didn't see anything, nothing.
1 a.m. When we arrived back into our apartment, and we walked back from the restaurant to our apartment for 35 minutes without knowing whether it was safe. So
you make a really good point.
Not want to go closer.
You don't want to go closer. You make a very good point. Those of us in the news business, you want to seek out a story, and I'm thinking even
in the news business,
in that case, no,
we're fearless.
We got to go the other way. Yeah. There were reports of people that were offering free rides.
Okay.
My wife was talking to her friend who happens to be in Austria, stuck there because her mom's injured. And she said, "Oh, I was wanting to go to Paris, and then this happened." And my wife would be, I feel the same way about it. She says, "No, now's the time to go. Yeah. When could it possibly be safer?"
It's going to be, it's going to be nice and no lines.
Walk down, there's no lines, but everyone's afraid. They won't even go there. American Airlines canceled some flights. Yeah. I brought this up at in fact, the liquor store. I had to buy something, and this woman said something about
cognac.
Paris. I'll
bet.
Yeah, a couple of cases of vodka after the show. This woman said something, and I said, "No, about Paris. Oh God." And I said, "No, now's the time to go." I would go, and I would. I'm not kidding. I would go right now. Yeah. The hotel rooms are going to lower the prices.
Which is why I feel that you two made a big canard. They should have just said, "Hey, we're not going to let terrorists frighten us." But no, Bono's a big pussy. That's why.
Yes, exactly. And you're right. You two should have said, pussy. "We stand for France."
Yeah. No, they don't. He stands for money. And
that's true, but he could have did that. That's why he'd say it. I stand for France. We don't care. We're with the French people. We're doing the concert. They had to pack them in, and all these guys are the greatest.
So to summarize, we have advantage U.S. because we finally get to go after Assad, and disadvantage Putin. And that's why they have to act quickly now. They're in Vienna. Everybody's in there. Everyone's talking, except, of course, Syria is not in Vienna. The UN is calling for a ceasefire, and then we'll have our protected zone up in the north with the Turkey and the Kurds, so we help them out with the no-fly zone so everything can continue as expected. Europe gets to say, F you immigrants, get the hell out. Probably jail a few people. I know, maybe... yellow stars or something. We can put them on their jackets. Know that they're an immigrant. You should be afraid. It seems to have worked interestingly well in the past. Get IBM to register all these people, and before you know it, we're good to go. So it's benefit for everybody. It solves a whole bunch of problems. The only problem is now we, the lowly, uninformed, stupid citizens of the universe who buy into all of what's being said, we're just going to be terrorized. And it's very unhealthy. It's very unhealthy.
Caliphate, the caliphate. That is why we'll all die. The caliphate.
That's right, everybody. We'll die. The caliphate. Ba, 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 hey.
I think that's a good enough analysis for everyone who wanted us to analyze.
For now, I mean, what else can we do?
There'll be more. We can do a little more.
Oh, it's going to be tons more. There's one. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more important thing. How could I have forgotten the most important thing?
So, Sam, you're there as part of this climate effort, as you mentioned, with former Vice President Gore. What becomes of what you would hope to be this big public campaign leading up to the climate summit?
It's a very good question, Brian.
No, it's not.
Though this is Al Gore was going to do 24 hours of climate change live broadcast.
Yeah, right. This is funny.
And that got canceled. But I believe this is very good for the profile of COP21. Now everyone will be talking about, it's heavy security. Everyone's trying to figure out, save the world so that we all, we don't want to die from ISIS. We don't want to die from global warming. I see it as a benefit towards the COP21 global movement for economic change through climate credits and cap and trade. I think it's a benefit for the conference.
No, I'm not sure.
Well, it'd be a lot more coverage.
In on it.
Going to be a lot more coverage.
I don't know.
Well,
that kind of meme came up early from looking at all the overseas stuff, and it was it died off.
It'll come back. There's plenty of time. Now let's listen to this is a little piece, kind of the intro of a longer video. I'm moving over to migrants now for a moment, just to get
I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a break before we go to migrants?
Well, in that case, I would have to thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all feet in the air, boots on the ground. And I'm not supposed to say boots on the ground. Subs in the water and all the dames and nights out there.
In the morning, everybody in the chat room, noagendastream.com. That's where you can listen live on Thursdays and Sundays. What does it say in the chat room? Curry's insinuation that the powers that be are anti-immigrant is ludicrous. Okay. All righty then. Maybe you should watch a news broadcast from time to time. In the morning to our artists, thank you, Joshua. Joshua brought us the...
What kind of an idiot would think that if they listen to anything, not even our show included?
Yeah. Well, wait until I'm not talking about I'm talking about the people. We'll get to that. In the morning to Joshua, who brought us the artwork for episode 773, All Juice and No Seeds. It was the Hillary logo transformed into LOL, which we did a search, and quite frankly, I'm amazed that no one had done this yet.
We always search the art if it looks suspiciously really good.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this must be ripped off.
Somebody stole this. I mean, we have certain artists that are professionals, and when they turn something in that looks really good, we don't even think about it. But sometimes when you have a guy you never heard of, usually newbies that come on and give us art, often just steal the art from someplace else and then put a different caption on it, which is not enough to warrant fair use. And we had the one the other day, the vasectomy picture was very funny.
Funny, but used, yeah.
But it was all over the internet. Somebody else drew it. And by the way, I will tell you this, that when many artists who work for a living as artists and they see their stuff stolen, they are all over you.
No kidding.
Condemn you fucker.
I got to tell you, it's interesting you bring that up. I didn't talk about it on the show, but I put in the show notes this guy, something Stephen or Andrew Greenberg is his name, and he has created this online survey that helps you with cognitive thinking and decision making, and apparently he has military contracts. He's like a young guy. He has military contracts, and he has a hedge fund that has some secret artificial intelligence. And so I saved a couple of articles about him, one about his foundation and what he's done. I'm just kind of researching the guy, and he sends me an email. Well, I got a Google alert about something's on your server that's my copy. What are you doing with it? And then it's an offline copy. I make copies, our system for show notes. If you ever go into the show notes, you can see a link to the original article, and then we have an offline copy stored. And now I have to deal with this jabroni who's probably going to be, like, oh, man. So, yeah, it's the internet, people.
One time this is when PC Magazine was big. And I realized one of the things that's going on that people don't generally realize, and this guy probably doesn't have a clue. If he went to a lawyer bitching about that, the guy would laugh him out of the office. So somebody just was stealing my columns, full cloth, posting them on their blog.
Yeah,
as though they were. Yeah, they gave me. I was the writer's credit, sure, but it was just like that's all the blog was. Just other.
Was it an Irish newspaper?
No, does Irish newspapers do that?
It happened to me once. Where someone was taking our content.
It was a small guy.
Oh.
And I said, this is where stop this guy. This guy, you guys are losing advertising revenue. I don't know how much. And for this guy just stealing this stuff. And they said, it's not worth the trouble. That was legal's answer.
That's true. Not worth the trouble. I can't get any money out of the guy. That's true.
So that was the
All right.
So where were we? We were just going to thank people. I thank the chat room for saying nutty stuff. It's these days when you get people in who doesn't matter. Yes, newbies of some sort.
Yes. Let us thank people who are supporting this program.
The guys who supported today's show, we have 1, 2, 3 executive producers and 1, 2, 3, 4 associates, which is good. The executive producer at the top of the list is Sir Matt Greensmith, who came in with $800 from Wheelers Hill, Victoria, Australia.
Holy moly.
Yes, that was I would consider a reasonably good amount.
Yeah.
And he has a note.
Okay.
It says, Dear Guardians of Reality, after a day of listening to friends and family prattle on about how recent events in Paris were completely unprovoked by an inherently evil group, I thought the best way I could pay tribute to all those people who have suffered on both sides is to support the people who are at least willing to consider that there are different views worth talking about. Those of us.
And what group is that? Is that MSNBC?
No Agenda staff team. Those of us that understand that there is no black and white and that good and evil applied to different groups are labels to oversimplify the discussion and help clamp down on dissent within the slave ranks. They need to have you in our lives for at least a few hours of sanity in discussing the week's events. So I contributed $800 for 2 reasons: to acknowledge both the 8th year of TBPITU and the upcoming show 800, which is not that far away. Actually, it's a little bit. Also was enough to push me over to the 3rd knighthood, and I would hereby like to claim the title of Matthew Baron of Melbourne.
All right.
Or Melbourne.
Melbourne.
I look forward to hearing your deconstructions for many years to come and pledge to continue to hit people in the mouth within my protectorate, no matter how futile it might.
It's not futile. And when everything hits the fan and everything's down, there will be a peerage map, and people, now I know who runs this part of the earth I'm on.
Peerage map will, when they have to rebuild the universe.
Yeah.
Sir David Julian's also in with $500 from Morgan Hill, California.
Oh, wait, we should give Sir Matt a little bit of karma.
He didn't ask for anything.
He gets karma because he deserves it.
Karma.
He deserves it.
Thanks for lots of karma. Sir David Julian in Morgan Hill, California, $500, and he says, why did he send $500 again? Because I love you, Sir Julian, is all he says. So I think he deserves karma, too.
Absolutely.
You've got karma.
Good old Sir Luke of London, $333.33, London, England. Even though I'm a baronet, I only just this week got around to ordering my night ring, looking forward to showing it off at Christmas parties.
Oh.
It's a good idea. Sunday's show is my 33rd birthday. We have him on the list, I believe.
We do.
So what better time to donate 333-333 to the best podcast in the universe? I've been out of work for the last year or so. Really enjoyed giving some jobs, Karma. Really enjoy just getting by and have enjoyed small successes with my cycling events. No doubt helped by No Agenda Karma. Also, he listens to him, I think, while he's pumping. I have some more karma to ask for. Winter is here and it's too cold for cycling events, so I put together an online course, 7-Day Guitar Method, and published it on Udemy, Udemy, like Academy or Udemy.com. I'll check that out, by the way.
Oh, I'm going to check it out, too.
Yeah.
7 days I can play guitar like Slash?
Guitar on the thing with the harmonica, that stupid little thing that holds the harmonica in the air and you blow on it.
Yeah, the Bob Dylan neck
thing.
Brace. Yeah. Cool. Wait a minute. You're telling me you do the podcast and you don't already have one of those? Isn't that perfect?
No.
You should
just building a collection.
So you could just be talking and then you put your head down and blow a little bit, blow a ditty.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Be talking away. Yeah. Just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He also has a coupon code, No Agenda, so that all listeners to the show can get it for free. You want to learn the guitar? 7-Day Guitar Method.
Right, I'm going to put this in the show notes.
This is the way advertisers would do it. All I ask is I get some positive reviews, not included as a link. It would be grateful if you could put it in the show notes. Thank you again for thank you for all you do for us listeners. Sir Luke of London, he's got a little link to.
I am putting that in the show notes as we speak. Just let me double check that it works. 7-Day Guitar Method. Yeah. And you get the excellent. You get the discount included in the link. So I'm going to put that in the show notes under PR. Great. Thank you so much. And he wanted jobs, Karma, I believe?
I think so.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got Karma.
Onward.
Excellent.
Sir Sean Connolly in Naperville, Illinois, 23456. Jens is a prepay for what I assume will be an excellent analysis of the Paris attack. We got paid in advance. One that we will hear nowhere else.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That's for sure. And we didn't even go off the deep end, I don't think.
No.
I would like to send karma to the dudes named Ben. I'm sorry, at my former employer. They certainly deserve the support in spite of let me click this thing. I'm obviously running. In spite of the mezzo. And if you put end of the day at the end of the show bin, it would be appreciated. In other words, at the end of the day clip, which is funny.
I think it's.
But at the end of the day,
I got it.
That's it.
That's the one.
Keep up the great work, Sir Sean.
Excellent. We'll run that for you.
Okay. Onward. James Richard in Watertown, Massachusetts, 23333. I looked into my records and found I haven't donated since 2013. What a douchebag.
Well,
I guess
really.
I need some de-douching.
Yeah, well, I'll do that right now.
You've been de-douched.
My wife and I see headlines in the blame stream media every day, and our first reaction is, I guess we need to see what the Curry Dvorak companies say.
Yeah, consulting group.
Yeah, consulting group.
All right. I'll give him some karma for that.
Karma.
Never bad. Throw out some karma.
You've got karma.
A tad of karma.
Another one, Alan Chow in Flushing, New York, 22222. He says he knows he can count on the No Agenda to provide some meaningful coverage over Friday's Paris attacks. It's always sad when events like this happen, but often the hashtags and Facebook profile image overlays takes the place of ever discussing the truth. Indeed.
Yeah. Severely
in Vallejo, California, $208.21. And somebody said, I didn't say Festivus. Anyways, two of three in my quest for Baronet by Christmas. Expect the third in December, and it's Sir Festus, not Festivus. I don't remember. I know what Festus. I think of Festus as in the Gunsmoke show.
Right.
And that's how old I am. So, but I know Festivus.
Wasn't Festus with the crazy floppy hat?
The guy was limping. It was Walter Brennan, I believe. No. Festus was not Walter Brennan. This is It was a guy with a screechy.
Yeah, and he had the floppy hat, didn't he? I thought he had the floppy hat.
I don't remember if Festus had a floppy hat or not. We'll find out. But anyway, that's our group of producers and associate executive producers for show 774. And we'd like to thank them all and remind people we do have another show coming up next Thursday where we'll probably do a little more on this Paris thing.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm guessing.
Oh, if by then we aren't already rebelizing Damascus.
Rebelizing the crap out of everything. Dvorak.org/NA.
Yes. And, of course, we will be thanking everybody. $50 and above later on in the program. And these are the executive producer and associate executive producer credits. They are real. You can use them anywhere. Credits are accepted. And again, as John said, please remember us for this coming Thursday.
Dvorak.org/NA. Rebel on the double.
And we always need you out there doing the very important work of propagating our formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave. All right. Let me hit you with two migrant clippies here.
Migrants.
As this is all related. It's all related to everything that's going down. You know, they're worried that the European Union is going to fall apart. Well, we have some solutions now. But let's talk to this kid in Sweden who did this YouTube video. I just picked up the intro. Thought you might be interested just to get some perspective.
Hey, welcome to Sweden. This is the #1 rape capital of Europe. Some say that this is because Sweden is very progressive and aware of destructive patriarchal norms, which is why our definition of rape is broader than in other countries and more considerate to the victims. Others say that it's because of our massive levels of immigration, where we import thousands of people from countries in the Middle East and Africa, places that don't really have the best views on women's rights. But it doesn't matter who is right. We will never know who is right, because we aren't allowed to talk about it. Here in Sweden, everything is considered racist. We now officially have the highest level of immigration in relation to the population here in Europe, and yet it's considered racist to suggest that we should decrease immigration, even though there's a lack of housing and has been for quite some time. We have an increasing number of immigrant beggars on our streets, and yet it's considered racist to suggest that we should ban the begging or try to get their own country to take care of them. I know that the definition of racism doesn't really apply to people asking for money, but it doesn't matter. This is Sweden. Everything is racist and nobody ever has to explain why.
Yo, I say this is a little canary in the coal mine. Pay close attention, people. This is what's happening all over Europe. If you want to question the immigration policy, if you want to question the authorities, you are shamed, I should say. You are shamed that you're a racist.
Well, you just had that moment with the chat room guy.
Yeah, I did, exactly. Oh, but this will continue to happen. And I've just brought out one little extra clip just so I could give this for you, John, about the northern route, the northern route through from Russia to Norway.
Yeah.
This is another report. This is from the BBC.
Where we are now is a reception center for asylum seekers that have just arrived from Russia into northern Norway.
On the bike.
This place has just opened today because there are so many people crossing over from Russia that the Norwegian authorities have had to build this center in less than 4 weeks to make sure that people have a roof over their heads.
The numbers of people taking the Arctic route is tiny compared to the 750,000 who've crossed the Mediterranean this year. But it's growing. More than 4,000 have crossed the border since August. That's up from just 10 in 2014. And authorities are increasingly concerned that winter will make the passage a deadly one.
No, I think you're kind of still right. It doesn't seem like it's a hotbed of activity, but 4,000 people, yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's exaggerated. I think this story is bogus.
Why don't we stay with the
maniacs are going to do this?
When people are desperate, they do desperate things.
Yes, but this is beyond that.
Let's just stop for a second at the shaming and
what is the Russians don't put up with this sort of thing. Yeah, come on through. Go down that road. We'll see you later.
Mm-hmm. Well,
don't stop in Murmansk, whatever you do.
This is the BBC reporting. I can't do much about it. I have a new term for this white people who how about for the millennials? I have a term for the millennials with their safe spaces and their right to not be harassed. New term: cry bullies.
Cry bullies.
Yeah, cry bullies.
It's a new term. I like it. It's a good term.
I'm going to give you
picked up.
Here's a cry bully, writer for Salon, and she's also a professor at Rutgers University. Professor Brittany Cooper.
Got cry bully written all over her.
Yeah, have a listen to what she says. It's very interesting. You got to pay close attention.
These young black students are saying to us that surveillance is a threat to them, and so they're not talking about trying to limit the press or trying to limit freedom of expression.
So this is about the
about the journalist professor or the journalist student
who said you
can't come on my lawn,
my safe space. Safe space, and let's get some muscle over here. So listen to what she said.
Some muscle over here.
This is interesting woman.
They're trying to figure out how you have social movements in which black students are hyper surveilled on these campuses and are hyper visible, and also where media coverage of these stories is usually quite hostile to these students. It is not particularly sympathetic, especially when we're having ridiculous conversations as though, for instance, about freedom of speech, when these students are really asking us to think about what it means for them to be physically and emotionally unsafe on these campuses.
Emotionally unsafe?
The problem is that you're making an argument, sir, that free speech is the most fundamental concern here. Look, African American folks have always had to fight for our rights to enjoy all of these freedoms, and so we value them just like you do, but there is something that is as fundamental as the right to free speech, and that is the right to move through the world unharassed. And so
wait a minute, let me get where's my Constitution? Let me make sure I have. Is this a human right? The right to not be harassed? And that's more important or as important as free speech? Professor, I beg to differ.
Unharassed. And so what we have here is a complicated situation in which there's a white privilege in the ability to make this conversation about the threat to freedom of speech.
This is the best thing I've heard yet. There's a white privilege to make the issue that is going on about freedom of speech. So the white privilege allows you to change the narrative to make it about something that they're not interested in talking about, which is free speech and freedom of the press.
Make this conversation about the threat to freedom of speech, and it supplants our ability to have a more robust conversation about the threat to move through the world in an African American or black body without being harassed.
I'm sorry. I've got to stop. You can be harassed because you're in a trans body, a woman body, a purple body, a yellow body.
Short people?
Nobody. Short people, no legs.
Tall people?
Yeah. Ableism.
Hey, how's the weather up there?
Hey, ableism. Ableism is a big part of it. Ableism. You heard of ableism?
No.
That means you prefer people without handicaps above the disabled. It's ableism. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're an ableist.
Yeah, you're an ableist.
Oh, God.
These are the cry bullies. The cry bullies. I tell you. I had something here from...
I have a thesis coming out maybe the next show, hopefully, or the show after, about the social justice warriors.
Oh, man. Oh, well, it was nice knowing you. Nice doing this show.
And it was developed by Buzzkill Jr. and his buddy David Duncan. And it's absolutely a stunner.
When do we get to hear this?
Well, I want to get a couple more little tidbits to add to it. So you can hear it now, but I'm not going to.
No, I don't want to hear it now. I do want to say that when it comes to Gamergate and SJW, social justice warriors, I can tell you what it is. A bunch of cry bullies writing way too much copy is what it is. Every single time someone says, oh, hey, I'm glad you guys are talking about it. Let me explain it to you. 10,000 words later,
true.
I don't care. It's a bunch
Adderall.
Yeah,
that's
Adderall. Oh, there you go. How about, don't forget Vyvanse.
You take Adderall, you're writing 10,000 words instead of saying, well, that was a good idea.
All right, well, please save it for Thursday. I'm already loving it. I'm already loving it. Here's not always my favorite guy, Alan Dershowitz, the lawyer.
Always entertaining.
We have rules in corporations that say you can't talk a certain way.
He's on with Megyn Kelly, who has a new hairdo. Dynamite. I love the pulled back hairdo, kind of It drapes a little bit over her cheeks and over her ears.
She's good looking.
I think it's much better than the blown out kind of look she had.
I think the only reason Dershowitz does her show so much,
just to look at her.
I think he's got a crush on her.
And work here. They say, why can't we have those same rules on college campuses? You can't talk that way. You can't say those things because this is an institution. This is a place where you shouldn't have to be subjected to that.
Well, these are the same people who claim they're seeking diversity. The last thing many of these students want is real diversity, diversity of ideas. They may want superficial diversity of gender, superficial diversity of color, but they don't want diversity of ideas. You know, I don't want to make analogies to the 1930s, but we have to remember that it was the students at universities who first started burning books during the Nazi regime. And these students are book burners. It's the worst kind of hypocrisy. They want complete freedom over their sex lives, over their personal lives, over the use of drugs. But they want mommy and daddy, dean and president to please give them a safe place, protect them from ideas that may be insensitive. When I spoke at Johns Hopkins University, some of the protesting students, the same students who were talking about safe places, painted a Hitler mustache on my posters. No concern about that. It's an absolute double standard. It is free speech for me, but not for thee, and universities should not tolerate this kind of hypocrisy, double standard, and college administrators have to start treating students as adults and talking back to them.
Where, as somebody who's been in academia, where is the spine of these administrators?
They're all afraid. They're all afraid. After Larry Summers got fired from Harvard, after the president of Missouri gets fired, college administrators don't want to have to confront students. You have to speak back to the students. You have to call these things what they are. Double standard, hypocrisy, bigotry, McCarthyism, and the fog of fascism is descending quickly over many American universities.
Yes, the fog of fascism.
Let's stop because we run into other. I forgot a few shows ago. I ran into somebody else where I said, "Well, you made your own bed," and Dershowitz is one of the guys behind this sort of thinking that turned on him.
Yep.
And I'm sure the Hitler mustaches drove him crazy.
You think?
But if anyone was a left-wing, screaming left-winger that would be pushing this sort of thinking,
it would have been him
until it happens to them. Yeah. That's Dershowitz. So I'm not sympathetic towards his plight. I think he's dead on. I agree.
Well, here's what I want. We have college students listening to the show. Maybe Uncle Adam and Uncle John, for one, should just say, here's what you're doing to yourself. Because you're setting yourselves up. You're pawns. You're being pawns of a larger machinery that is grinding into place. And you are going to wake up one day and you'll be completely enslaved.
Yeah. Well, if they're not already.
You white privilege will get your black privilege. You'll be slaves.
I will say that this comment about the book burnings in Europe during the fascisti growing movement that started in the late 20s, actually. And it was considered an intellectual movement. If you look into the history of the fascists, it was considered an intellectual movement, highly supported by the universities. And, of course, then again, you make your own bed. And as soon as it started to get rolling and turn into National Socialism, which was inevitable, the same professors who would be advocating it in the high German universities were all taken out and shot.
Yeah.
So, hey, good work.
It is said that the people are revolting. You said it. They stink on ice.
Yeah. The people are revolting. No, I'm hearing daily reports that teacher wanted to show some movie in class. She's yelled at in class as a racist. Oh, no. It's going to be very, very bad. And when South Park makes a parody, a whole song parody about your safe spaces, come on, get a clue. You can say, oh, that's just old guy humor now? No. South Park is on the cutting edge of mockery. And they're mocking you. South Park is mocking you.
Yeah, it's bad when South Park mocks you.
Yeah.
But it's what's going on. And, the students, it's what they want to do. It's what they want to do. Exactly why they're not... I think the academic situation is pretty much like free enterprise. It should work itself out if it's allowed to, and this should be expunged as to all the bad things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
And these administrators, the problem with them is that they have no other place to get a job because labor conditions. The labor market in this country is just crap.
Oh, and also, you can get sued and, putting hands on somebody.
There's another person getting sued.
Yeah, there's all kinds of issues.
Especially you have somebody with a bunch of lawyers, volunteer lawyers that are doing a bunch of suing everybody left and right because it cost you $40,000 to get it out of the suit.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to throw away that kind of money. Anyway, okay, you made your point. Whatever that was. I've got one.
Yeah.
I got one somewhere.
All right.
Here's one. I thought that this was fascinating. You listened to the View or whatever it's called.
I religiously.
And I, not religiously, I listen to The Real.
Ah, yes. This is The View in reverse? No,
it's a view that's truly multicultural, except for no whites. And this is the future of multiculturalism. You're out.
And what does this air on? What network?
It's one of the syndicated shows, so it could be anywhere.
Okay.
It's not a network show. In fact, The View was never a network show until recently.
Okay.
The networks are finally getting a clue.
Yeah,
she's made good money.
Yeah, people like this.
Now, I thought this is a little segment on the real on cell phones. Now, I want to set this up. I like this. I don't really enjoy the show in general because I find it annoying, but I like it for its cultural references to mainstream thinking, especially in the multicultural Black, Hispanic, Asian milieu. And so there was things that are commonplaces within that milieu that most people don't know about, they don't pay attention to, they don't think about. I do. And this floored me because this is a meme, I don't even know if it's true or not necessarily, but it's something that the cell phone companies have been trying to minimize. No, it doesn't. No, brain cancer. No, it's got nothing to do with us. This is what they're actually talking about and thinking about at this level. It's astonishing.
If it gets wet.
Exactly. But I don't know. I always get away with it. I wonder why.
I do have to mention this, you guys. Make sure, I hope you guys aren't texting and driving. That's the number one thing.
Well, I don't drive in general.
You don't. But
so I have no problem with that.
Okay.
The other thing is, I was told not to sleep with. I normally sleep with my phone literally like right by my face.
That's not good either, eh?
Yeah, that's the radiation.
The radiation can get to your head. I was told that. I didn't know that was true.
Wait, did she just say for reals? Did I hear that? Yeah. My favorite, for reals.
I was told not to sleep with. I normally sleep with my phone literally like right by my face.
That's not good either, eh?
Yeah, that's the radiation.
The radiation can get to your head.
I was told that. I didn't know that was true. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, definitely.
All you have to do, you know what? You know how you can test it, you guys? Everyone, I'm sure, has a microwave, right?
Yeah.
Just put the phone close to the microwave, and for some reason, it makes this weird noise. It's like,
wait, what?
Yep. It's weird. Maybe it was just my microwave. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
We are going to use Tamara's scientific test, which everyone tonight is going home and taking their phones, and if we don't hear...
Okay, that's it for Girl Chat today, but stay in those seats. We've got more of The Real coming up.
Oh, man. She put her head in the microwave.
Give me some kudos for being able to listen to this show.
Yeah. It's not clip of the day. It's not borderline, but it is brave.
It's interesting to me.
Okay.
It was without not one person said, this is bullcrap. It's been studied. There's just radiation. There's no way it could cause cancer or cause anything. No. They're all in on this, which tells me that I think it's just a bad sign for the cell phone companies. Because everybody on that show is all in. Where is that? How do they get all in on this? What influenced them to make them think this?
I don't know.
I mean, I kind of think it myself. I always say, don't be on the phone all day. And I usually use the speakerphone when I use my cell phone.
I don't even carry it in my front pocket anymore.
Yeah.
You don't want to put it near your stuff.
No. Well, see, you got the same thing. I think that when I listen to these women, I said the whole world must be thinking this, and it's been suppressed.
Well, I'm very respectful of high frequency, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency because I've been burned. I've gotten burns
You
off
got an
of
RF burn.
Yeah, off of 5 watts.
Yeah,
I get a burn.
Yeah, well, the phones aren't 5 watts, that's for sure.
No, but
everybody.
I'm just saying you can get from 5 watts. I mean, you can get a real burn.
Yeah,
just from touching a knob that has a screw in it or something. It's,
Yes, I know.
It's not very
dangerous.
Not very good. Not very good. Hey, you want to hear about Marfa?
Marfa?
Yeah, I'm in Marfa. Remember?
Oh yeah, Let's talk about Marfa. Let's talk about the telescope, and let's talk about the nickel on the moon.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a quarter. All right.
They changed it? They changed the story?
All right. So we go up to McDonald Observatory, and the guy had driven all the way from Austin to Joel. He had to give us the personal tour, and we were invited to have dinner.
What's your relationship to him?
You recall 2 Obama-bought dinners ago, Carolyn Porter, who is the development director for the Giant Magellan Telescope, of which $100 million will be from University of Texas in Chile. And then she's the one that said, hey, when that thing's built, you can see the quarter on the moon. And meanwhile, would you like to go see our facilities at the McDonald Observatory? We said, yeah. And she followed up. And she set it up for us. She wasn't there.
Did you get to go and see that big giant scope?
We saw all of them. We saw the original one from, I think, which was from 1932.
Did you look through it?
Well,
you couldn't see anything.
Well, so these days, it's not really like you just walk up to the eyepiece. They've got CCD cameras and everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Strapped onto them. And it was very cloudy, so while we could not get any visual pictures, and of course, everyone's bummed out, but, it's what it is. There was a lot of spectrography going on because when you...
Spectrophotography?
I think it's spectrography because they use a spectrograph. Yeah. So they're using spectrographs to find, well, there's 2 pieces of research going on right now. One is pulsars. So pulsars are very exciting because that means they're turning into a dwarf night. There's 100% of the scientists were in consensus that the universe is expanding and expanding more rapidly, and that is because of dark energy, which is another thing they're looking for here to understand what dark energy is.
They're just trying to balance an equation.
But forget all that. There were astronomers at this place, John, and I'd say it's about, probably looks like it's 50% women, maybe even a little more. Smoking hot. Oh, the girl from Brazil.
Work at night.
Oh my God! You have a little tracksuit action going on. Yeah. Oh, let me just bounce around and hold on, we'll turn the dome for you. And then we went to the 10-meter telescope.
That thing's ridiculous.
And it's cool because it's like
it's got a 30-foot. It's got a 30-foot mirror.
Yeah,
that's huge. It's the biggest telescope in I think
Hawaii. Hawaii has a bigger one, I think.
Okay. Well, okay.
But
it's huge. It's bigger
but
than
you know that it's not one single piece.
Yeah, it's a bunch of it's
a honeycomb.
Hexagons.
Yeah, hexagons. Yeah, it's a hexagon of mirrors. And then they're putting this new spectrograph thing in, and the undergrad kids were all here, and everyone's. I mean, it was a great vibe, really cool. And of course, I don't know what the point is of all of it. It's all right, great. You're gonna look at some pulsing stars and stuff, but everyone's really excited. And again, I just want to reiterate. I mean, hot babes in astronomy these days.
It's funny.
Yeah. So it was a bummer.
Hey, buddy, the scope's over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. And they're like some developers, software developers, and crazy looking guys. Hair all wild, like real geniuses. Just super fun. We had dinner there, and there's people from South Africa and from Japan and from the UK.
I'm sure they had a nice crowd at that telescope.
Great crowd, and so they do these star parties on Friday night, and then they put a whole bunch of pretty high-powered telescopes out, and of course the ambient light is non-existent. It's great altitude, but it was almost raining. It was just so cloudy, so unfortunately we didn't get to see anything with our own eyes. But it's very impressive, and anyone can come up and visit. I mean, you may not get the same tour that we got, but you can definitely see. And you probably won't talk to a lot of the astronomers, but you can see all. They
have
gear.
a lot of little scopes.
They got tons. And the story, the whole story of how it came to be, and how these how the money was raised for these telescopes and what they've done with them. And yeah, the one from 1930? No, the one from 1960. It's like the most research papers in the world on astronomy have used data from this telescope. And they got a radio telescope. And
that's what all these places do. That they have this. Wow, we hold 800 papers were written using this telescope, and they all do that. And I'm sure that the McDonald, the big one.
I love how the chat room says, "How much did they pay you, Adam?" What are you?
Pay for what?
I don't know. It's like I don't know. I'm not looking at the chat room today. It's a-holes in there.
What would you get paid for? Just when people jump in their cars right now and head to the middle of nowhere?
Oh yeah, it's a profit center for them. Yeah. No. Okay, so now
I got that from somebody the other day that was bitching about something. I said, "What are you doing? It sounds like an advertisement." We're getting crap from this guy's website that we plugged.
Right.
Hey, it's the way we do the show. If you don't like it, go listen to somebody else.
Okay, so now, and we left Thursday night after the show. We stayed overnight in Junction, Texas. In one of those small RV places. And
Junction, Texas has to be a junction.
It is a junction. That's where you pick up the 10 from 290.
It had to be a junction for something. I'm sure the town wasn't just recently named Junction after the 10 was built.
John, I'm sorry. I forgot to look that one up for you. Yeah. But I have other good news. I have things to report from Marfa. So Marfa had population 2121. That's what's on the sign.
Did you, while you were up at the scopes with all these superstars?
Yeah.
Did you ask any of them if they've ever seen a flying saucer?
I did. Yep. And they laughed and said, nope. And I said, do you think I can see the quarter on the moon? And they all looked at me like, I've never heard that before.
I never, I was hoping you. I went online looking for it.
No, there's no mention, no reference, no mention. I said, well, your development director was the one who told me that. She must have been pulling your leg. I said, well,
that's what I was thinking.
I said, can I see the footprints, the flag? I said, no, we can only show you a kilometer from a kilometer distance, so you wouldn't be able to see. That doesn't make sense to me. They can't get any closer than a kilometer view?
That's probably what it is. It's a long ways away. It's 250,000 miles away. I mean, come on. And then you're going through the atmosphere, it's going to be all blurry.
And I learned a lot of things about telescopes and how they have to be adjusted from time to time due to temperature changes. They got liquid nitrogen trying to keep everything the same temperature.
Those big ones especially have problems.
But apparently, the Hubble telescope, they made a mistake. I didn't know exactly. Remember it was broken and didn't work?
Everybody knows about the mistake.
What was the mistake?
They ground it wrong or something. They had to send up guys up there to fix it.
Yeah, they ground it wrong.
And they never really fixed it officially. What they did was they adjusted the way it was focusing or something, and that was good enough adjustment. And the results are fantastic, so I can't imagine if it was actually built to spec.
Yeah, so that was apparently
off spec.
Incredible embarrassment.
Then launched.
Yeah. But it was nice. It was just learned a lot of science stuff. A lot of my ham radio knowledge, is applicable. Understanding how they're doing these types of experiments and what they're looking for. Yeah, exactly. It was really nice. And we had parked the Airstream of Consciousness at kind of the first park that I got when I was just searching around for it, the Tumble In RV Park, which is
Tumble In, perfect.
And it's almost like you expect tumbleweeds here. And in fact, I'm expecting Burlington Northern to come by because it's right by the train tracks, which runs through Marfa. And so we were walking around a bit, and we went to breakfast. And I didn't want to. You have what's the name of the hotel here? The One Hotel. I can't remember.
The Marfa Hotel.
No, it's the one where everyone stayed when they did the movie Giant, because there's one movie that was shot here.
Hotel. Let me look it up.
And it was, it's like an Italian, the Paisano or something, Paisano. And so it was James Dean, Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, and that's what the town was famous for before Judd came in with the Chianti. Is it Chianti? The Chianti Foundation and turned it into a big art hub. But right now there's no art shows going on, so it's pretty empty. And we found a place for breakfast called, get ready for it, Buns and Roses.
Wow.
And this is a little off the tourist map.
Is it the Hotel St. George?
No.
The Thunderbird?
No. It's
the Paisano?
Paisano.
Okay.
Yeah. So and so we drive out to this place. It's not like it's far. Everything is within 6 minutes. And it's a Quonset hut. And
dynamite.
Yeah, I'll get ready for it. It's a beautiful Quonset hut, 50 by 30, really high ceiling. And they sell roses and pastry, buns and roses, and regular breakfast. And there's like the sheriff is in there with his badge.
It's a Quonset hut restaurant?
It's a Quonset hut. It's like a diner, but they also sell roses and flowers, buns and roses. So
you go inside.
Yes, look. The point is, get on the Googles and take a look at it while I'm telling you the story. So we're sitting there and we're talking, and the owner, Debbie, and her husband comes in, Bird. His name is William Parrott, but everyone called me Bird. Bird. And I said, I really, and they had poured concrete. It was beautifully stained. And I said, and so what they have in this little compound is they have the restaurant, and then they have a wrecking service and another Quonset hut in the back, which is like a garage where they, there's a there's a Lincoln with suicide doors.
This is not a true Quonset hut.
Well, but just listen to me, will you?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Go on. Oh, it's cool inside.
So I said, do you mind if I ask what it costs to build this? He said, well, if you go to futuresteelbuildings.com, right now, a lot of people, have purchased one, but they can't afford it or whatever, and they're letting them go. And you can pick up something like this. He said they paid $12,000 for the entire kit outside of the floor, just for the Quonset hut.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I said, oh man, I've been thinking about this. He says, I'll build it for you. All right. I said, okay. So now we're talking about what would it cost? And he said, I can probably put the whole thing with the floor, this size, plumbing. So I'll do the conduit. I won't do the electrical, but I'll do the conduits. It'd be like, it'd probably be done for about $20,000.
So this is Bert.
This is Bird, not Bert Bird. William Parrott. Call him Bird. And then we get a little tour of his compound. He's got, a pit bull. He's got a cat named Dog. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, yeah.
Cat named Dog. And there's two dudes, hanging out next to the wrecking, the wrecking truck. And they say, hey, I'm Adam. Is Tina? What's your name? Trucks. And Tina says, that's your real name? Trucks. Yeah, Trucks. And the guy said, how do you spell that? Trox. Trucks. And so we're chatting, and okay, this is gonna be great. We get his card, and we talk about welding because he's an arc welder. He's like we were talking the other day about welding. And then he says, "Well, what are you doing? What are y'all doing tonight?" I said, "We're gonna go. There's only one restaurant in town, I think that you'd want to go to." And he says, "Well, why don't you come to Building 98?" Building 98. Yeah, it's like everyone's going to be there. It's a benefit for the Rotary Club here in town. And say, okay, but I'm looking. I say, I can't find Building 98. He said, no, just, I'll drive you. I'll show you where it is. He gets in his wrecking truck, wheelie with 4 wheels in the back. And we're following this. Bird is not a rule follower. Bird is driving 50 and through the 25. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go right behind him. And we're peeling around Marfa, and we come up to this building. It turns out Building 98 was where they kept, when this all used to be a base, where they kept German prisoners of war. And they famously, if you look it up, created these murals. The prisoners of war, the German prisoners, were painted murals on all the walls inside these barracks. It's a very cool building. I've never heard about this being in Marfa. And there, lo and behold, was like a potluck dinner where the restaurants had brought in stuff, and it's all locals. And Tina and I walk in, we're sticking out like sore thumbs. I'm like, hey. And they had barbecue, and they had like 2 guys playing some crazy like bluegrass. Then they gave away door prizes. It was phenomenal to be in the culture of Marfa.
I've been looking at it, the building now.
Yeah, it's something that if you come to Marfa, you should check it out.
Well, I don't really think that's ever going to happen.
Why not? It's a good idea.
It's a little. I mean, I got
It's a little out of the way.
It's a little out of the way. I got I can go to France when the prices are low. Paris right now.
We should probably be planning that trip.
We should be leaving tomorrow.
Anyway, so we're going to stay here. We're going
so these murals are a lot of them are just
Texas landscapes and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're pretty famous.
So so you had dinner there?
Yeah, and and I went out to have a vape. People out there smoking in kind of a courtyard, and this guy from Turkey, and he was in town to sell rugs.
What else do they do?
And it turns out he's opening.
By the way, I went to Turkey once and I bought some rugs, and
I knew you would like that.
These guys, yeah, how could you not? And I still get phone calls, sometimes from Turkey, sometimes they're out here. And it's always in this Turkish accent. We're going to be out there with a truck full of rugs.
Yep.
You want to take a look? Do you want to buy some more rugs? By the way, I'm going to warn everyone out there. You're for life. You will be haunted by the
for
Turks.
new rugs.
Selling more rugs.
The guy's name is Hussein, and he was visiting Marfa with his girlfriend, and we'd actually seen them with their rugs out on the sidewalk, very hippie-ish. And this guy's kind of like a hippie Turk, with gray long hair and kind of interesting guy. Well, everyone out there smoking cigarettes. And yeah, I'm opening up a store in Austin on Burnett and I think 38th or 39th, and so yeah, so you go back to Turkey. He said, I'm trying to stay away. So yeah, it's kind of me, right? I'm launching into it.
Yeah, now you go.
Yeah, kind of crappy. You see, especially with what's going on. And I throw out gula, and the guy goes, "Oh, you know what's going on?" I said, "Yeah." And he had an interesting rap. He was saying, he said, "What is happening?" Because of course everyone's very afraid now. He's afraid to go back to Turkey for stuff he has posted on his Facebook page. He said they pick you right up at the airport. I'm not going to go back. I don't want to risk getting picked up. It says everything that was so great, 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago is now all being turned around. It's going to be completely messed up. He says what's happening with Islam is what happened to all other religions. He says, after 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 years, people split off. And, I guess somehow that was his feeling of, that was his way of explaining what's happening to himself. But then regarding the Kurds, he was really all pro-Kurds.
That's odd.
Yeah, and he was saying, these people...
That's what's going to get him picked up.
Yeah, I think that's what he was probably posting about on Facebook. He said, these people have been marginalized, and, if you're walking there with your mom, and the soldiers come up, and they call your mom a whore and a slut, and they harass her, so what are you going to do when you grow up? You're going to want to go kill them. So, yeah. So he had that take on the Kurds in Turkey, but to him, it was, too dangerous to even go back just for stuff he had posted on Facebook.
Well, as long as he has access to the rugs, he can make a living.
Yeah.
By the way, Turkish rugs are fantastic.
Yes.
Second in the world only, I believe, to the Iranian rugs.
And
I have a bunch of rugs, needless to say. I have like crap loads of rugs. We got a room up north with guys just like, because you can get, if you know what you're doing, you can get them
you can get
really
nice,
inexpensively.
Do you have a monogrammed your rugs?
No, but I've thought about, I've got some ideas for making some custom rugs. But I do have a war rug, which is my most collectible rug. Oh. At least to me. I think the war rugs are really cool. And I've only got one. I'd like to get a couple more. And these are the rugs that are made usually in Afghanistan by families who have been traumatized by the war.
Right.
And all the little design elements are all guns and tanks and explosions.
All
and
groovy
stuff.
Like yeah, nice stuff.
And I have one that's pretty old because it has mostly Kalashnikovs on it. It doesn't have any American indicators, so it's probably from the Russian era. It's, it's
anyway. So we'll pick up some more local color tonight.
Good.
And
tonight's the night of the dinner?
No, we had the dinner. That was last night. But Tina the Keeper, she's in town. She's going to rustle up something, I'm sure. She's great to travel with. She's like anyone. Hey, how you doing? She's just like, and she immediately asks people about themselves and just winds them up, and they talk forever. I just like, I need my recorder. Some of this is
that's good.
Dynamite.
And I know she travels light, so that's a plus.
Oh, light.
Yeah, you should take her to Paris.
Light is not even the word.
Has she been to Paris?
I think she's been to Paris.
Yeah, but she hasn't been to Paris.
No, she did. She backpacked in college. She went to Paris and then through.
Not bad.
I know that. Hello, I said, darling, we must put our locks on the bridge. Our lock of love. April in Paris, baby. We're saving up.
Well, you have to save up quite a bit. But now, I think you can get there cheap. But it's kind of cold anyway, so what difference does it make?
Hey, I wanted to play a quick little clip. This is just something that popped up on the radar. This is one of the victims of the Boston Marathon. Did you hear about this story?
No.
As this, what's her name? I think they mentioned it in the story. Very good-looking woman. She was supposedly one of the victims of the Boston bombing and took victim money, then a GoFundMe thing, and all kinds of cash. I think totaling $60,000 or $70,000. And people found out she was scamming. She wasn't there. She just said, hey, I'll take this money. And she pled guilty to it in court.
Joanna Lee with little to say about what happened today in this courtroom.
Guilty.
Soft-spoken and with little expression, she pleaded guilty to taking money meant to help the victims of the marathon bombing. Never was there an explanation. Back in May, we uncovered this picture taken about a half-mile away from where she says she was injured on the day of the bombing. But it never proved any signs of injury.
There was talk of a third bomb, and I sat there wiping blood off his face, and they're turning it into something ugly.
Prosecutors say Lee wasn't even in this area when the bombs went off. She wasn't hurt and didn't seek medical treatment until 2 weeks later, claiming she had a traumatic brain injury from running to the blast site to help the wounded.
The defendant knew these claims to be false when she made them.
Today in court, prosecutors laid out how she collected about $40,000 in donations, including $900 from cosmetic services, $9,000 from a GoFundMe page, about $18,000 from the state's Victims of Violent Crime Compensation Program, another $1,800 from a school donation, and $8,000 from the One Fund, the group helping bombing victims. After today's hearing, Lee's attorney blamed her actions to claim the money on stupidity.
If she really did this properly, she would have gotten money. I mean, it's like a crazy crime, It's like stupid.
While she was sentenced to 1 year in jail, that was suspended to probation, meaning no jail time. She also agreed to pay back the money. But the woman who once was so vocal about what happened to her, now with nothing to say.
So we should just let that be. Don't do any investigative work.
Let me ask you this. How did she get caught?
I don't know.
It's a very suspicious story. I've seen these stories. They crop up every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's some schlub. But there was one, I think about a year ago we did it. Some schlub, does some minor scam. It's like, oh, brother. And it's always like, it's innocuous. It's not like she hit anybody over the head and took their wallet. And I always wonder if these whole things are just the whole thing's not a phony story just to keep people from doing these simple scams.
Could be. She's beautiful.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. I do have a little project I want to just mention to you, though.
Okay.
I'm putting up a web page, or something.
Are you using Front Page for this?
Yeah, Front Page 98, the best one.
I loved Front Page.
I'm going to read it. You can't even get it anymore. No agenda running. Okay, this is the no agenda running glossary of unneeded wordage.
Is it headless Drupal?
Mostly, most of these come at the beginning of a sentence and are unnecessary and mostly stupid. Some believe they are used automatically, robot-like, to get the brain in gear before beginning to actually speak. And what I want is more of these, because I think can
I make a suggestion? I just want to make a suggestion. I would be happy to maintain the page if you
listing words.
I know,
okay,
but I'm kind of a little better at maintaining things.
Okay, here we go. Here's some of the phrases.
Okay,
at the end of the day,
which was overused during the Democratic debate. Overused.
Yes, it was
overused.
Fact of the matter.
Overused. We should play that at the end of the show as well. We have a fact of the matter, don't we?
Fact of the matter, we do have that.
Yeah,
truth of the matter.
Yeah, that's also, yeah.
But that's judiciously used. When all is said and done.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, no. Basically.
Basically.
So.
How about, you're missing... what is?
I haven't read the list yet.
Oh.
You make a note and you see if I missed it. So.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one you hear once in a while. It's usually low lifes. Fucking A.
Do you have right on in there?
No, because Right On's not. I should have it as arcane because nobody uses it. Well, they do. I think it is on here. No, maybe not. Right On is definitely.
Now, but now these types of words should. I'm sure there's a linguistic term besides stop words, factual. What else is there? Essentially, you need that one.
Essentially, yeah, that's got to be. Hold on a second. Let me write that down.
Essentially, basically. Do you have It's Funny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking A. Oh, wow.
I use that one. Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's like the 60s.
Oh, literally.
By the way.
Yeah.
Let me put literally down. I think I have literally.
Now, is this going to be on the same website as the Mile High Club?
I don't think so.
Okay.
By the way, be that as it may.
Ooh, another good. We need to have a term for this.
Yeah, there is one. Talk to your linguistics guy. You have a friend that knows about this.
Yeah, they don't talk to me anymore because I yelled at him about them shaming me.
Oh, is that the guy?
Yeah,
the guy who has all the moral licensing and all that. That guy.
No, you mean the performatives?
Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Maybe he still listens. He doesn't listen.
No, he doesn't know when no one listens.
Yeah. Is actually used at the beginning of a sentence.
Do you have right?
I've got that, but that's at the end of a sentence. It's the beginning.
All right.
You know what's funny?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one right now.
Guess what?
This is good. I want us to make our own term, though. Don't you understand?
Oh, it's going to take a while. You know what?
Okay.
Listen.
Yeah. Look.
Was the next one? Is no matter what.
That's a great question.
Sell. I should put that on there in some form.
In other words.
Great question.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all me. It's all me.
I'm telling you.
But really.
Good. What?
But really.
Excellent.
Another good one, right?
Yeah.
The thing is.
I think I have. Did I have the thing is?
No. Let me say this about that. That's a performative. Be that as it may, we had that one in there already?
Yeah, that's in.
Yeah. Seriously.
Ah!
Good one. Good one, Skepticon. Good one. Seriously. What's the point? No, that doesn't go at the beginning of the sentence.
I don't think that
Or the
works.
point is, my point is, the point is?
No. It's not like the same. The other one that you mentioned, which is at the end of a sentence, and I think you said it once today.
So as I was saying...
Let me finish the list I have.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, Google.
Right.
Okay, Google.
Right. Yeah, okay and right. That's it. That's the end of my list. And you have the new ones, which I'll put on. And now you had any other ones come to mind?
Onward?
No.
Okay, Google, Hey Siri, and Alexa.
Onward.
I think that's a good start. But I would like to call this type of language something that is our own name.
Oh, you want us to dream up a term for these terms?
Yeah. Now that you mention it.
Now that I mention it.
Yeah. So as I was saying.
Unneeded wordage is what I'm calling it.
Yeah, but that's not very hip, is it?
No.
No.
That's not hip.
Slave speak.
Slave speak. That's pretty good.
Well, hold on a second then.
Writing that down.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have an idea. Why don't we?
Basically, essentially, there's I think there's a third one in that group.
Basically,
we used to have a talk show guy named Jim Eason in the Bay Area, who was had just hated basically to such an extreme that he would occasionally go on long rants about it.
Hey, good news. Slavespeak.com is now ours.
Good.
Yeah, registered. Done.
Good news. That may be. Some of these I don't think we can use. I mean, if you go deep enough into it, you can probably eliminate anyone being able to communicate at all. I did run into something the other day, though. I also have a medley coming up for the next show of amazing.
Oh,
but
good.
That's still like completely out of control. People saying that, especially there's a local show here that reviews restaurants, and everybody, they can't stop saying amazing when they describe the food. Oh, that chicken was amazing. Oh, that dumpling was amazing. Oh, that wine was amazing. Oh, the service was amazing. There's other words in the dictionary.
No.
Oh my God, that is amazing!
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have some people to thank for show 774.
That's how jingles work, people.
And we begin with Katie Passaretti, who actually sent a note in. She does a check, and she's giving this to her boyfriend, husband. Is boyfriend, husband? I can't tell. Husband. Her husband's birthday. He listens regularly and is a Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. So it's Sir. You might as well change the birthday call out to Sir Stephen Olker. Can you please give him a shout out on the air? His name is who the hell, Sir? Let me see this. Maybe I have the wrong note.
What do you look? I've been looking at Katie.
I'm looking at the card. Oh, that's a wrong note. The other note. It's a note from last week.
Oh, okay.
Here's the note I'm looking for. Dear John and Adam, please credit this donation towards my boyfriend, Stephen Oker's. I got him prematurely married. Quest for knighthood. Okay, this goes toward knighthood.
Okay.
I am making it an annual tradition to donate to the best podcast in the universe in honor of his birthday. Please give him a birthday shout out. He's 38. We have it on the list.
Yep.
We both love the show.
She says she's 38 because on the spreadsheet it says 39.
Eric wrote it down wrong.
All right.
38.
All right.
We both love the show and frequently talk about your stories and jingles.
Oh, thank you.
It's true. It says that we're the couple who discusses media and deconstruction together stays together. Congrats on the 8th anniversary. Yeah, a couple who discusses No Agenda together stays together. This is kind of a... Anyway, that's Katie. Judy Schwartz in Bern, Texas.
Bernie.
I said Bernie.
It's Dame Judy, I believe.
Dame Judy from Bernie, $100.
Oh, yeah, she sent me a picture.
Yeah?
Yeah. Nice.
God. Sean Zinsmeister in San Francisco. He has a... Let me read this. I just feel like reading something. Listen to the show since number 1. Sorry to hear that. It's been fun to watch the program evolve. Sometimes feels like the world is falling apart. And hearing your podcast in my ears twice a week for the past few years always brings me great comfort. That's what we do.
That's what we try to do.
Yeah, it's because
You both have become my wife?
I don't know about that.
Oh, you both have become my wife and my only healthy source of news.
Well, that's absolutely true. Dennis Sturko in Seaside Park, New Jersey, $100. Anonymous, $98. Paul Gerdo in New South Wales, Australia, $88. Colin... Yeah.
88. KF5 SLN, 88s.
Ditto. Colin Peterson in Bellingham, Washington, $79. Sir Keith Edwards in Gilbert, Arizona, $777. Brian Sidorowitz in Hamburg, New York, $74.24. Sir Brian, KC9YJM Green of Ham, 73s.
Yep, 73s. Kilo Fox 5, Sugar Lima, November.
William Brannick in Calgary, Alberta, 6911. Marcin Brzezinski, I think so, in Didcot, 6789 UK. He's got a birthday, or William Brannick's got a birthday. Anthony Garlinger in Downers Grove, Illinois. There's a lot of dead cattle there, apparently.
Now he's going to be a knight today? What's happening here?
Yeah, he's got his counting. He's a knight today. And he's probably, what is he?
He says, "Hi, Guardians of Reality. Thank you for your courage. While I was doing my finances this morning, I realized I was a mere 5968 away from my first knighthood. I'd like to be known as Sir Tony, Jedi Knight of the Coders, if possible. I don't think it's taken, so I would like some short sale buying karma. Also, if you're feeling generous to a new night, I think I came up with the most lewd combination of jingles below.
Okay, well, we'll put them at the end of something. Maybe put them at the end of the show.
Yeah, but it has something to do with Whoopi. All right, onward.
Brian Van in Mesa, Arizona, 5555. He says he wants a F cancer karma for his father, Hank.
Yeah, I'll put that up there.
I don't know what he's talking about. Somebody, he doesn't like Jeb Bush. Christopher Walker in De Pere, Wisconsin, 5510. Maxwell Roberts in Crown Point, Indiana, 5510. Sir Kevin Payne in Chantilly, Virginia, 5432. Philip Veenstra in Chatham, Illinois, 5280. Zachary Gilbreck in Cordova, Tennessee, 5280. Sir Charles, these are all Mile High guys will be listed eventually.
Yep.
Sir Charles Walters in Schaumburg, Illinois, 5280. Edgar Brock in Grass Valley, California, 5150.
First-time donor, thank you very much.
First-time donor. And there's a lot of people that need to be first-time donors, I can assure you. James Deering in Spring, Texas, 5150.
He has a coded message. Please tell Tony that Fat Pete has found him. This concludes our coded message.
Somebody's going to knock on the door one of these days. James Deering in Spring, Texas.
That's what we just
5150. And the following folks are all $50 donors and ordered Patrick Gossick in Goodyear, Arizona, Simon Horn in Manly, Queensland, Australia, Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas, Patrick Thomas in Petworth, West Sussex, UK, Chris Slewinski, Sir Chris, I believe, in Sherwood Park, Alberta, John Haller in Missoula, Montana, Jennifer Hedrick in Harvard, Illinois, and she's got a birthday of something coming up. Brandon Savoy, parts unknown, 50. Mike Westerfield, I don't know where. He's from somewhere. I don't know. He keeps coming in blank. Patricia Worthington, who I believe is a dame in Miami, Florida. Kyle Meyer in Atlanta, Georgia. And finally, Kyle Meyer in Atlanta, Georgia. That's the end of it.
All right.
So I want to thank all these people for contributing, and also the people that came in with lesser amounts of money, which many wanted to become anonymous, and some people just subscribe at a low but steady rate, which counts big.
Yes.
Thank you all.
And let's see, I want to do some cancer karma and a jobs karma. Special karma, I got a tweet from Maynard in Australia. It says, could you please give some quick karma to Sir Gavin Surveillance, that is Surveillance, of Melbourne. He has pacemaker surgery on Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah, well, definitely. We'll give you some karma and the other karma as requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And remember, we have another show on Thursday. Please think of us at
Dvorak.org/NA. It's your birthday. Oh, no agenda.
Katie Passaretti says happy birthday to boyfriend Stephen Oka, turning 38. Turned 38 yesterday. Sir Luke of London, 33 today. Jennifer Hedrick says happy birthday to Carlos Pacina, celebrating on the 15th. William Brannick will be 46 on November 26th. And Jason Time celebrates tomorrow. We are all very happy and wish you happy birthday for the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
And then we have Matt, Sir Matt Greensmith. He becomes the Baron of Melbourne, Australia. Congratulations, Sir Matt. And we have one knighting to do today. Anthony Garlinger, if you could please... Whoa, hold on. Careful. There you go. Just stand up on the podium, John. Your sword?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a shorty. You have the long sword?
I'm sorry. That's what I missed.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right, Anthony Garlinger. Thank you so much for your contribution to the best podcast in the universe. The deconstruction may continue. We are hereby very proud to pronunciate the Sir Tony, Jedi Knight of the Coders. And we've got a nice list for you. Of course, we got the Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Dillaw Dead and Dramamine, Crickets and Cream, Black Hose and MD 2020, Pork Ribs and Pale Ale, Bad Science and Perky Breast, Drams and DMT, Sake and Sushi, Malted Barley and Hops, Ass Cream with Bear Fillings, and of course, we always have the Mutton and Mead. And you can head over to noagendanation.com/rings and give Eric the Shill all of your details, and we'll get the ring out to you as soon as possible. Please remember to tweet it. It's always fun to see when people have joined the round table.
I guess Marfa's one of those towns. You find these all over the South mostly, like Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, not less Missouri, which has like this old-fashioned downtown with usually parallel parking, and like these abandoned brick buildings that are just gorgeous.
Yeah. Now, if you really wanted to build something beautiful, although it's expensive here, it's very expensive. Gas is like $3.50 a gallon.
No, that's making you think you're on an island or something. It's a jip.
Yeah. Everybody knows everybody. It's kind of cool. It's all right. I'm a little bummed we didn't get to see any stars.
Yeah, I would be totally bummed, especially if you're sitting with that telescope around. Although it's not direct look eyepiece.
You know when the 10-meter telescope, when it turns, they have, it's like a hovercraft. These rubber rings inflate.
You posted a little movie on that.
Yeah.
Very, very. I didn't want to go onto Twitter and say this, but I thought that was a crappy film. It was too short.
Yeah.
And you didn't show any of the mechanism above. You just showed this thing.
Who says I don't have that? Who says it wasn't a tease? Who says I don't have that video?
Well, I would like to see that better clip then.
Okay.
I mean, what I got was, it was a thing moving very slowly, and you got a little thing moving. It's just like uninformative. And then you have Tina over there going, oh, and you going, woo. And that was it.
Yeah. That's, in fact, I'm sad I didn't have my toys with me. I wanted to go, oh, it's turning. Oh, my gosh, will you look at that juice? Yeah.
Yeah, we're great.
Oh, man. All right. You want to talk about the debate briefly?
Sure.
Television catastrophe. It was bad. It was a bad television show. Oh, I thought it was. I didn't like.
I like John Dickerson. I think that guy's great. Of course, he follows me on Twitter. So
okay. What were the overnight ratings? Let me see. Overnight.
Who's going to watch it? It's on Saturday.
I'm always interested.
Right in the middle of the football games, the good NBA games. I mean, come on.
Do you want to?
They didn't want anyone to watch it.
Well, the headline: TV ratings Saturday. Democratic debate is the smallest of the primaries so far.
Yes. Hello.
Let's see. Does it have
college football season's wrapping up. We got some fantastic games that any fan would want to watch. And then we have some unbelievable NBA games with great endings. They're very exciting. And now they want to put the debate in.
5 share. Bad.
Yeah, no, and with the 3 duds.
But still 7 million.
But she just glares at everybody.
But still 7 million.
Bernie, 7 million diehards for Hillary.
Yeah.
Bernie's just, global warming is more important, it's causing all this.
I happen to have that clip. Let's listen to
play it.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Senator Sanders, you said you want to rid the planet of ISIS. In the previous debate, you said the greatest threat to national security was climate change. Do you still believe that?
Absolutely. In fact, climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism. And if we do not get our act together and listen to what the scientists say, you're going to see countries all over the world. This is what the CIA says.
No. Well, Bernie's all in with the CIA. Yeah, the CIA says it must be true.
They're going to be struggling over limited amounts of water, limited amounts of land to grow their crops, and you're going to see all kinds of international conflict. But of course, international terrorism is a major issue that we have got to address today.
Wasn't it? Who was the guy, the New York Times writer? He was the one that really started this. I think it was when he interviewed President Obama about the Syrian civil war started because of climate change. It was the whole long series that ran for 13 episodes.
I did.
What was that guy? Yeah, come on. Was it David Brooks? Does he write for the Times? No.
Yeah.
No, it's a different guy. It was a different guy. No, not David Brooks. It was the Thomas Friedman. Thank you very much.
Oh, Friedman. He's a stooge for the CIA.
Well, then that's why he said it, because we know Bernie Sanders says the CIA says this. Let me see. Do I have it? I wish I thought I had that somewhere.
Well, I had a clip from, which isn't about the Trump came out. I guess that's all. We just discussed.
Oh my God! We could listen to the 9 minutes of Trump and just comment on the whole 9 minutes.
Well, he did like an hour.
Yeah, but the 9 minutes was on Ben Carson.
The 9 minutes on Ben. I thought it was fantastic.
I just sat here laughing. I couldn't get enough of it.
He has spotted Ben Carson, and I'm not in disagreement, as something of a phony.
Right.
Not as his neurosurgeon job or whatever. I don't even know if, never looked into that. I don't care. But his stories and all the other bull crap, it's bull crap, and I think Trump is sick of it. And meanwhile, of course, everyone's all up in arms because Trump is annoying, and he's condemning, especially the Republicans. Oh, it was our only black guy. Yeah. Whatever you do, don't say anything bad about him. So racist.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Shields and Brooks. David Brooks is usually on, but they had this other guy, Gerson or Gurin or whatever. Gerson, he's another New York Times guy, supposedly a Republican. Now, this is on the NewsHour. And so you have these two guys bitching about Trump, both of them, the Republican and the Democrat. They're just complaining bitterly. They don't get it. And they're just completely baffled. Now, I want you to listen to this and think about a couple of things these guys are doing. Both of them are saying they can't analyze it. They don't get it. They don't know what Trump's up to. It's horrible. We think it's sick. Trump's a creep. They go on. And I'm especially concerned about that. I can't explain it. If you can't explain it, why are you on the NewsHour as two commentators who are supposed to explain this stuff? Fire them both.
I don't know, sort of presidential in quotes that he didn't go after anybody. Everyone was elegant. The questioners were elegant. It was an elegant evening to this person who really savaged, and basically accused Ben Carson of being a psychopath. Pathological, I guess, excuse me.
Michael, what do you make of it?
Well, there are a lot of problems with our presidential nomination process, but it does over time reveal candidates, reveals them under pressure, and this was very revealing. I think that people have a democratic duty to watch what took place in those 95 minutes, as much of it as you can stomach.
Stomach, it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. That was entertaining, what he did.
Yes,
it was incredibly entertaining. It made me think about a couple things, but he was entertaining, top notch.
Trump was vile and vulgar.
Vile and vulgar.
Vicious and morally deformed.
Morally deformed?
Was
it's unbelievable, this guy.
I like these terms.
No, they're great.
I'm morally deformed.
5 minutes.
Bag off.
As much of it as you can stomach. Trump was vile and vulgar and vicious and morally deformed. This was a unbelievable performance. I think conservatives just have to have a tough time defending this. If this isn't the line, there's no line. This was really the worst type of politics, and we'll see what the effect is. He has jumped the shark so many times and avoided the consequences, but this really struck me as something different.
Is it worth even speculating about why, or is it just there's just no way to know? Why he would do that?
I don't pretend to know. I really don't. It appears that Ben Carson bothers him, and the fact that Ben Carson is ahead of him in certain polls.
The two are leading in the poll.
The irony is, what my takeaway from Trump is, he's still mad at mainstream media. That's what he keeps coming back to.
Yes, and this is a good example of why.
As to why. Because what he's saying is, how can it be that this is what the media does with Ben Carson? How can he be he's also calling the polls into question, which is dodgy for him, because he relies on them when he's number one. But he knows they're bullcrap. For all I know, he's got his Goomba guys, rushing into every state where there's a poll and answering the phone. It's been done before.
It's in Iowa.
Yeah, I think Ben Carson is ahead in Iowa, and at least in the Des Moines Register poll, which is sort of the gold standard. And I think that's part of Donald Trump's introduction of himself every time. I'm leading in all the polls, and I don't know if he's bothered by that or just what it is. But
and Trump's biggest strategic failure in this speech, he actually attacked Carson's religious conversion.
Yeah.
The way things.
What did Trump say? He said he went into the bathroom and came out all religious.
Yes.
John, we should. I'm considering just listening to those 9 minutes of just going over it with you because it's crazy.
That is a central tenet of evangelical belief. The possibility of redemption and conversion. I once was blind and now I see. By attacking that in a very religious state, Iowa, I can't imagine what reason there could be. This was a religious illiteracy. It also really showed a hostility towards the evangelical tradition. I can't explain that at all.
See, if you can't explain it, get off the stage.
Hey, we've got a little update on the venue in Paris.
Okay.
It was sold to the Lagardère Group on September 11th, 2015. Yeah, fits in with all the crazy numbers. The Lagardère Group is one of France's media empires, owned by Arnaud Lagardère, worth $2.5 billion. Largest partner / investor in the Lagardère Group is Qatar. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And Qatar's one of the biggest supporters of
terrorism. Terrorism.
The Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, terrorism. These guys are all about terrorism.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. And soccer.
Yes, soccer. Big deal. Have soccer.
All right, so I did
some foreigners.
Didn't really mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's okay. That was done. I just had this guy going on about I don't get it. Then if you don't get it, go someplace else. But they're just, and I think Trump. The guy. By the way, I don't care. The New York Times. I don't know any religious people at the New York Times, and this guy has got to be among them. Just either a religious, or just atheist, one of the two. Or they don't care, they're agnostics, something like that. To be lecturing people about how evangelicals think and what they would put up with and not put up with is beyond me.
Yeah.
It's beyond me. Terrible segment of that news hour. I was very...
well, you've been distressed a lot recently.
They got to get rid of that guy.
There's some distressing things going on. I saw a funny clip. I think it was Andrea Mitchell, and she was something about Hillary, and that there's some fact check, while we're looking at everyone's record and how they lie about it. Hillary apparently somewhere said, yeah, I applied for the Marines in 75.
What?
But I guess I applied for the Marines.
She was a hippie protester.
Yeah, I applied for the Marines in 75, but I was too old. I was 26 at the time, and so. But she said that she went to the recruiting station. Now, this, of course, turns out to be not true. And this
would go to the recruiting station to plant a bomb.
Okay. Was she doing that in those days? Was she part of the Weather Underground?
She was part of that mentality. She was part of that radical, super Weather Underground style of protester. I don't think she. But maybe she did.
Well, so she said this in an interview, and then Andrea Mitchell calls this out to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I love Debbie Wasserman Schultz whenever she's mad.
She is the worst.
And then her eyes go all fruity, and her head swells up, and she gets all mad. She also, to listen to it is also fun.
Those comments are being mocked by Republicans today, and they're getting two Pinocchios from Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler. She had worked for both George McGovern, and Gene McCarthy. She was actively against the war in Vietnam. Why on earth would she go to a Marine recruiter in 1975? It doesn't make sense.
With all due respect, Andrea, why on earth are we talking about this?
Well, because she brought it up in New Hampshire the other day. If she hadn't brought it up, it would not be an issue in this campaign. I think the point is just, did this happen? You have a presidential candidate, the frontrunner in the Democratic Party, saying something happened, which is quite strikingly dissonant to people who knew her back then.
I just find it really unreasonable, Andrea. I mean, do we need every single experience in a person's life to be written in stone and blood and very verifiable?
Yes.
There are things that happen to people all across America that can't be verified. And I know your next question is going to be about Ben Carson, and I think, quite frankly, the same goes for stories about Ben Carson.
Sure.
Can you start play that clip again?
The Debbie Wasserman Schultz clip?
Yeah. I'll tell you when to stop. She had a phrase in there.
Those comments are being mocked by Republicans today, and they're getting two Pinocchios from Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler. She had worked for both George McGovern, and Gene McCarthy. She was actively against the war in Vietnam. Why on earth would she go to a Marine recruiter in 1975? It doesn't make sense.
With all due respect, Andrea, why on earth are we talking?
With all due respect?
Yeah.
For the list, of course. Of course.
On the best podcast in the universe.
That's right, everybody. Facts are all that matter.
She's a douche.
I love
Debbie
her.
Wasserman Schultz is a total. I got
a couple of quickies that I'd like to get out of the way. This happened, and I'm waiting for some feedback from our military contacts.
Secretary of Defense Ash Carter announcing he's fired his top military aide, Lieutenant General Ron Lewis, over allegations of misconduct. While Carter won't say what the allegations against the Lieutenant General are, he has turned the matter over to the Inspector General for investigation.
I can't wait to find out.
CNN News.
Can't wait to find out what happened there. It's got to be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Highly decorated, fast track guy. The guy's been on a fast track to the top, and now bam.
Well, he's a fast track to oblivion.
Yeah. What's his name? Who's the editor of the New York Times?
I don't know.
Well, he was on the Charlie Rose show. Talk about douchebags.
Suppose.
Hey, that should be on the list.
I don't think so. But it might. I'll put it on there as a candidate.
But you have to do it through. Suppose.
It's like
Suppose. Let's try it again. Here we go.
Suppose. Edward Snowden had gotten on the phone to you. I would have met him anywhere. I would have given him a back massage. I would have done whatever he wanted. Because I think Edward Snowden's revelations were really important to an international debate. And I wish they had been in the New York Times first.
Yeah, but when I hear you talk, Mr. Editor, I wouldn't go to you either. You sound like a douche. I would have given him a back rub, which is code for blowjob. It is.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, you never been to a rock concert?
I've been to a rock concert. I saw Jimi Hendrix 6 times. How many times did you see Jimi Hendrix?
Well, excuse me while I kiss this guy. Groupies wait. I'm telling you the story. Groupies always start off by saying, "Oh, can I give you a back massage or a shoulder massage?" That's how it starts. That's the code. It's the groupie code.
Okay.
All right.
I never was in a band.
Well, that's strange because, man, that harmonica.
that's
Jethro Tull, man. Jethro Tull is on the road. I'm sure you can pick up some work.
Yeah. And have some geriatric groupies. Should I take my teeth out?
Oh, man.
All right. What else? You got anything? I'm done.
I thought I had one tech news thing, but I don't know. Where was it?
I get this. Here's a small clip of that woman Mai Chu or whatever her name is.
Who's that? From Myanmar, from
the Myanmar
Burma.
Woman.
Yeah.
They just run this little ditty off. Just as part of their story, and I listened to this again. This doesn't sound good or right.
Under Myanmar's constitution, Suu Kyi is barred from becoming president, but she has said whoever holds that office will be a figurehead, while she will wield actual power.
What? Is she Boss Tweed?
I don't know what that's about.
I'm going to have to talk to our economic hitman because he wants to move there. He thinks it's the greatest country in the world if it's not run by the military.
Doesn't sound like Einstein 3A. We've been hearing about this huge cyber budget that is supposed to protect our government systems. And a big part of this, I think this is a $3 billion contract, is called Einstein. And this is the third version, and for some reason there's an alpha. So Einstein 3A. And AT&T has won the bid. And so I'm looking at this, and they're talking about countermeasures to help protect government data and .gov websites. And and I'm reading this on the government IT, dude named Ben website, and they link to Chris Smith, Vice President for Technologies at AT&T Government Solutions, and a blog post he wrote. And, so this is a big, big contract.
Yeah.
And what does it consist of?
Just sending money directly to AT&T.
Well, yes. Here it is. And so he's talking about the key cyber defense, Einstein 3A. Our enhanced cybersecurity services contain an email filtering feature John, this is crazy, that scans inbound emails and attachments and compares the data against all known threats. It helps defend against advanced persistent threats, continuous attacks, usually by the same source, aimed at compromising computing systems and or stealing information. It also includes a domain name sinkholing feature that blocks attempts to divert users' computers to unsafe websites, i.e. phishing. So these guys are getting $3 billion for installing Norton.
A copy of free Avast.
Yeah, or Amavis D on a server. This is infuriating.
Outrageous.
Infuriating.
This is how stupid the Congress is.
Like our enhanced cybersecurity services, the IPSS platform, which stands for Intrusion Prevention Security Services.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Detects
AVG free.
Yeah. Protects potential email threats and blocks attempts to divert users' computers to unsafe websites. We expect
to hire Mark Perkel over here at City Time.
We expect to have our initial IPSS countermeasures ready this year to help protect government data and .gov websites against cyber attacks. It's going to take them that long to come up with something. We got a blacklist. There's the Amavis D uses all kinds of filtering and word techniques to figure out this is well solved and open source.
A long time ago.
$3 billion.
And there's no mention of encryption, which is the real thing they need to get on board with.
Yeah. No, there's no mention of that. I was just blown away by this.
Yeah, we're in the wrong game.
What a waste. What a waste. Einstein 3A. It's so insulting, It really is. I can't believe it sometimes.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Was there anything else that I had? I think that may be it. We're going to have a lot of work for Thursday, that's for sure. The president had an executive order, which I tried to figure it out before the show, but there's just no way. Distribution of Department of Defense funded humanitarian assistance in Syria by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, including and becomes Section 224AB, etc. of Title 10, determined that this section would impede the distribution of urgently needed humanitarian assistance in Syria to alleviate the current refugee crisis, as well as other United States government objectives in the Middle East for stability and humanitarian relief, and waive the prohibition in this other section for humanitarian reasons and to the extent necessary to allow the Department of Defense, not Human Services and Rescue, to carry out the purposes of Section 2561. So they're freeing up funds. It was, if you look at these sections in the code, it was too much for me. I couldn't do it. It's too much. Just legalese. But I'm pretty.
There's a scam.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they're getting funds ready for whatever we're going to do.
Yeah.
Kick everybody's ass.
Well, something's happening. Something's up.
It's our go-to, everybody. Something's up for sure. All right, we should probably put a Caliphate song in the ending here. Okay, I'll put a Caliphate in. What else do we need?
I don't know. What is this ones I wanted you to use last time?
One of your ISOs. Let me see.
Keep going, you dummies is good.
Okay, put that in. Hold on.
Good ISO.
Keep going.
And that means something, which is I got to start using it as a clip.
And that means something?
Yeah.
And that means something. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, good little list there. Good little list. Okay, and the fact of the matter. Keep going, you dummies. Caliphate. And the end of the day. Okay, great. There'll be plenty to do, for sure. Hopefully, an uneventful return to the Crackpot condo. So we'll be back there Thursday. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Coming to you from Hipster Central of the Drone Star State, Marfa, Texas. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where freckles are everywhere. Maybe we'll talk about that next time. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Thursday right here on No Agenda.
And that means something.
It's the fact of the matter, it's the fact of the matter, it's the fact of the matter, oh yeah. It's the fact of the matter, it's the fact of the matter, it's the fact of the matter, oh yeah.
The fact of the matter is they were closing ranks and there's a cover-up.
The fact of the matter is that, it's all about the flow.